So, kumusta kayong lahat? Ayan. So, we'll have the third part of our review for Majorship, and hopefully we'll be able to finish the slides on time, no? So, I'm actually projecting until 10:30 to 11, but we'll see what will happen. So, the same routine, we will be using the chat box now for us to be able to answer the questions shown in the slide, and then we will rationalize. So this will be probably I'm not sure, but we'll have siguro pa another set of drill before we proceed with the final coaching. So I will be giving you the final coaching now via still via Zoom, but you will have to answer the pre-board that will be the basis of our final code. Okay? So, nang tulog na lang, no, board exam na. So, hopefully you are really preparing for this, and that you are dedicating the rest of the days, no, preparing and reviewing. So, I know that you will all pass the board exam. Let's claim it. All right. So, let's proceed with the first question. So human reproduce when an ovum is combined with a sperm, leading to the development of an embryo. This form of reproduction is called A, asexual reproduction, B, fertilization, C, budding, D, binary fission. So you may want to answer via direct message or via everyone. It's up to you. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, everyone is correct. So I can see a lot of P's. That's correct. Fertilization. So how do we call again the fertilized egg? Can you put it in the chat box? Fertilized egg is known as once the ovum and the spermatozoa or spermatozoa unite, we call it the zygote. That's correct. So after zygote, no, after gamete is the gametes united through the process of fertilization, then we have the zygote. Then after zygote, we have the cleavage and then the embryo. Okay, so that is the process of fertilization. So for the asexual reproduction, we have different forms. So we can have the binary fission or fission, like amoeba, no? Multiple fission, we also have the plasmodium. Remember that plasmodium are actually the parasitic protists, no? Which actually serve as the agent or vector for malaria, no? Among in Anopheles mosquito. We also have budding, no? Yeast is an example where external nucleus divides. So internal budding gemmules, archaeocytes, and sponges like peripherans, and also hydra, which also can also do regeneration. So pag nakita din sa board exam, ano pa yung mga nagre-regenerate? So we also have the sea stars, okay? So and sea stars is considered to be part of what phylum again? Sea stars? Anong phylum na ng sea stars? Phylum? That's correct, no? Phylum, tama ba spelling ko? Echinodermat. So sea stars, we call it sea stars, no? Since they are not ano naman chordates and not belong to the class of fishes. Now we have two classes of fishes. So later on, probably I would show that. Then we also have spore formation among the organisms include the fungi, no? So algae also, no? So it also resorts to fragmentation and some vegetative propagation in many plants, like for example, marketing, budding, grafting. So these are considered as asexual reproduction. So pag nakita sa board exam, which of the following is an example of asexual reproduction among plants, for example, or which is an example, which is not an example of sexual reproduction. So makikita natin dyan, vegetative propagation can be an option, or cutting of stem. Okay? Pagputol ng mga stem. Kasi once you actually cut the stem, pwede naman siyang i-propagate asexually. Okay? So pwede siyang maging source ulit ng another plant. Okay? So next. So, identify each type of sexual reproduction below. Nakita naman na natin. Sabi na natin, so we have regeneration, budding, binary fission, no? Where last time we asked you to compute for binary fission exhibited by bacteria. So kapag meron tayong isang bacteria, no, na nag-undergo ng binary fission, so ilan ng bacteria mag-produce? We have one bacteria will produce how many bacteria? If this will actually undergo binary fission. Yes. Kapag dalawang bacteria, ilan naman? Okay, 4. By the way, sino nakakakilala kay Leo Rosal? Jade, siya yung kasama mo? Layers of 30.
Yes, sir. Siya po yung sang animal husbandry, sir.
Okay. I'll accept it. Alright, sige. So, yan, no? And of course, vegetative propagation, sporulation, and another vegetative propagation when you actually put it in water. And then, eventually, grow, no? So, alam na natin to, no? Without sex, no? While fertilization, example of sexual reproduction. So, budding sa form sexual reproduction, makikita niyo yung term doon sa board exam later, outgrowth or bud. Okay? And binary fission is division in half. No? So it's the most common form of reproduction in prokaryotes. And when we say prokaryotes, we pertain to bacteria. Okay? So again, ano na ang tawag natin sa kingdom ng mga bacteria in the 5-kingdom classification? Okay, can you put it in the chat box? How do we classify bacteria in the 5-kingdom classification? Okay, that is correct. Okay. Sige nga, yung iba. Nakalimutan na ba? Okay, I received 2 responses by private message. Starts with letter M. How do we classify bacteria? That is correct. Now we call them Monera. Okay, so Monera. Hello, Ace, you're back. All right, so we call it Monera. But kapag ang tanong, in the 6-kingdom classification, ano nang tawag natin sa dalawang kingdom ng bacteria? Ang dalawang kingdom that pertains to bacteria or to these prokaryotes. We have kingdom, ano nga ulit yun? Kingdom, okay. Tama, no? So, kingdom, sige, yan na natin. Kingdom Eubacteria and kingdom Archaebacteria. Okay, so yan yung dalawa, no? Kingdom Eubacteria and kingdom Archaebacteria. Since ang domain natin sa kanila is domain bay, no? Ano yung bay? Domain Bacteria, domain Archaea, and domain Eukarya. Okay, so domain bay. So under domain, you have the kingdom. So pag nakita sa board exam, the highest taxonomical classification or highest unit of classification, we answer domain. Pero pag wala, we go for kingdom. Okay? So that's it. So next, so binary fission versus budding. So for binary fission, newly formed cells are almost of the same size, while budding only one daughter cells form at a time, which is smaller than the parent cell. Okay? So for binary fission, parent identity is lost, while for budding, parent identity is maintained. Okay, so that's basically some distinguishing characteristics. Now let's go to the second question. The waste product of photosynthesis is A, carbon monoxide, B, nitrogen, C, carbon dioxide, D, oxygen. Okay, this is a very basic bio question. Okay. That is correct. So, ang i-answer natin dyan is oxygen. So, pag nakita sa board exam, waste product, byproduct, that is oxygen. Okay? Question. Sino who discovered oxygen? Baka maitanong, since this is also by Majorship, who actually discovered oxygen na tinawag niya noong dephlogisticated air? Okay? JP ang initial. Any guess? Kung hindi niya kung nakalimutan na. It's actually Joseph. Yes, that's Joseph Priestley. So he actually discovered oxygen at ang tinawag niya dyan is dephlogisticated. Okay? So that's it. Question. In these options, okay, can you identify one of the raw materials for photosynthesis? One of the raw materials for photosynthesis among these options, A, B, C, or D? Of course, letter C. Carbon dioxide is one of the raw materials for photosynthesis, including light and water. Okay. So next, so you can see here water, no, as one of the raw materials. You also have the light energy and of course the carbon dioxide. And these particular materials, okay, in the photosynthetic process are also known as blank. No? So how do you call again the raw materials, other term for raw materials in a chemical reaction? Starts with letter R. Ang tawag natin doon. When you say, kung hindi raw materials ang ginamit, we call it R, which actually are the substances or tawag dito, substances, yes, that serves as the raw materials in a chemical reaction. Call it the reactants, diba? Tama ba? Reactants. So, pag tinanong what are the reactants, ayan, so we have carbon dioxide, water. No? Then the products will be glucose and oxygen. So glucose is stored in the plant and used as food. Okay? Then oxygen is released into the air as byproduct. Next, no, a hypothetical ecosystem contains lettuce, the producer, a caterpillar, the primary consumer, a small passerine bird, the secondary consumer, and the lion, the tertiary consumer. A gardener arrives and sprays pesticide, killing all the caterpillars. What can happen to the ecosystem? A, the passerine birds will thrive. B, the lions will eventually die. C, the passerine birds will convert to herbivores. Or letter D, the lettuce will wilt and die. Okay. What's the answer, teachers? Okay. All right. Sige. So, okay. I can see B, D, and C. Wala ba mag-A? Okay, iba-iba. Sige, okay lang yan. All right, sige. So, nakita natin dito yung tinatawag natin feeding relationship, no? The trophic levels. So, we have our producer, the lettuce or lettuce, then caterpillar, small passerine bird, then lion. Sabi, a gardener arrives and sprays pesticide, killing all the caterpillars. And you know that the caterpillar serve as the primary consumer in this food chain. Or we call this as food chain, right? Because this is only one-way feeding relationship. Okay? So what can happen to the ecosystem? Dahil namatay ang caterpillar, which is secondary consumer, okay? Ayan. And then the passerine bird, the primary consumer, then the passenger, then the lion. So what can happen? Actually, the best answer here is that, letter B, the lions will eventually die. Since the lions there is actually at the top of the food chain. So basically, kapag namatay ang caterpillar, walang magiging source of food ang small passerine bird. At kapag pag namatay ang small passerine bird, walang magiging source of food ang lion. So hindi ba pwedeng the passerine birds will thrive? How will it thrive if the food that it eats, which is caterpillar, already died? So hindi pwede. Thrive means to survive. Thrive and survive, diba? Lagi nating nalilinin yan. So it's not enough that you survive, no? It's also nice that you thrive. So you both thrive and survive. The passerine birds will be converted to herbivore. That's not possible since passerine bird's diet is a caterpillar, which is an animal. So therefore, it is actually naturally a carnivore. And the lettuce will wilt and die. So what happened to the ecosystem? Not really, no. So we're actually talking about the the trophic levels, the feeding relationship. which will actually affect the diet. Okay, so that's it. Next, an important endocrine gland that is shaped like a bow tie and located in the neck is called blank. A, pituitary gland. B, parathyroid gland. C, adrenal gland. D, thyroid gland. Okay. Okay, I can say D, I can say B, I can say B. All right. So basically, that is the thyroid gland. No? So letter D, no, is the bow tie shape, no, and located at the neck. No, we call it as the thyroid. Remember, glands, no, in the body release fluids, no, or hormones that play a vital role in maintaining one's health. So basically, these particular hormones must always have the corresponding glands because the glands are actually the one responsible in the secretion of these hormones. Question, anong body system, what particular body system is which actually involves several glands that secretes hormones? Ano na yung body system natin? Pakilagay nga sa chat box. Alright, sige. Bali naman sa board exam, you don't have to write the correct spelling, but of course, we spell it as endocrine, no? C-R-I-N. Alright. Okay, it's okay. So basically, that's endocrine system, okay, which actually also known as the hormonal or the glandular system or the hormone system of our body, which are responsible for the different hormones. Okay, so this is actually the thyroid gland. Okay, you can see here the thyroid gland, and you can see adjacent to this is the Adam's apple. Okay. So the location, the major endocrine gland. No? So endocrine cells also occur in the heart, alimentary canal, kidney, skin, placenta, and elsewhere. So we have here the pineal gland, hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and then here is the thyroid gland. Question, what is considered to be the master gland? What is considered to be the master gland of the human body? So ang sasagot sa board exam is pituitary gland. That's correct. So pag tinanong sa board exam, the master gland is pituitary gland. Why? Because it secretes a number or several hormones. So basically, that's a very reason why. But of course, it is responsible for the secretion of a lot of these hormones. Question. Pag tinanong sa board exam, can we also include ovary and testes as part of the endocrine system? Yes or no? Tinanong sa board exam, pwede ba natin ma-consider ang ovary and testes as organs which are included in the endocrine system? Of course, because they do secrete hormones. Can you put in the chat box the hormone secreted by the ovary? Okay, can you put that in the chat box? The hormone. Seryoso ka ba dyan sa sagot mo? Sige. Pag sinabi natin mga hormones ng ovary, ano na nga ulit? Estrogen and progesterone. Okay. Not sperm and egg. Ha? Sige. Okay lang yan. So ovary is of course progesterone and estrogen. How about testes? No? Anong hormone produced by the male reproductive organ? Of course, that is your testosterone. That's correct. Okay, sige. Ano pa ba tinatanong dito? Ayan muna. Ako, mukhang magbabrown at pasa ata. Huwag naman sana. Alright, sige. Let's proceed. So, where is the pituitary gland? So, you can see it. You can see that particular gland here, no? So, which is considered as the master gland. So, the pituitary gland is about the size of the. So, pag nakita sa board exam, how big is a pituitary gland? It's actually about the size of the. Hindi natin alam, di ba? Sometimes PRC would ask some sizes, some analogous sizes. No, they want to analogize a particular body into a particular size. Okay? So yan. Sige, dahil nakita na rin natin yung parts ng ano dyan, ng brain. Okay, what is the largest part of the brain? Can you put in the chat box the largest part of the brain? Of course, that is your, yes, that's correct. That is your cerebrum. Okay, so cerebrum is the largest part of. Okay, so we also have the terms anterior pituitary gland and the posterior pituitary gland. So pag tinanong sa board exam, what are the hormones secreted by the posterior pituitary gland? Dalawa lang yun. Okay? We have the oxytocin and the vasopressin. Okay? So nakita nyo napakadami, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. So that's why this is one of the reasons why it's considered as a master gland. Okay? So again, posterior pituitary, OV, oxytocin, vasopressin. The rest are included in the anterior pituitary. You have your TSH, ACTH, LH, luteinizing hormone, FSH, GH, and prolactin. So prolactin is something related to the milk production. Okay. So next, plants are classified as herbs, shrubs, and trees. What is the basis in this biological classification? A, evolutionary relationships. B, morphology. C, gene pool. D, phylogenetics. Okay. That is correct. So herbs, shrubs, trees, no, vines are actually biological classification based on morphology. And when we say morphology, something to do with the study of structure, synonymous to anatomy of the animals, of humans. No? So morphology is more on pertaining to the structure of the plants. All right, so that is morphology. Question: can you type in the chat box the classification that I'm going to? Classify the plants that I'm going to tell by typing either it's an herb, it's a shrub, it's a tree, or it's a vine. Okay, first, squash. Cucurbita maxima. Okay, Cucurbita maxima is that's correct, fine. Okay. Banana, Musa sapientum. Banana, Musa sapientum. Okay. O, diba? Lagi natin sinasabi kasi it's banana herb. Banana tree. But you can see that the stem is soft, right? So ano yung classification natin? Pag soft ang stem. Is it shrub or herb? Diba? It's more of like an herb, diba? So yun. Although, pag ano naman siya, laging sinasabi it's banana kasi medyo medyo mas mataas. Okay? So how about rosal? Rosal. Kasi common din si rosal eh. Okay, since this actually has woody, no, branches and not too high, not too tall, that is considered to be shrub. Yan. Kasama yung mga santan, rosal, roses. Okay, sige, last. How about Cocos nocifera? Cocos nocifera. What is the classification? What is Cocos nocifera? It's actually the coconut. Tama ba? Yes, all right. So, tree of life. So, Cocos nocifera or coconut is considered as a tree. Okay? So, herbs, shrubs, trees. So, herbs are seed-producing annual non-woody plants. So, non-woody and soft stem sila as compared to the shrubs with hard woody stem. Okay? The same naman din yung stem ni or bark, no, thick, hard, brown woody stems. So these have branches in a single stem, have branches at their bases, short, tall, and then tallest. So annual, biennial, or perennial are mainly perennials, then perennials. Pag sinabing perennials, usually every year. No? So it could be longer. No? So annual, add flavor to food with and provide medicinal value, and can be used in gardening and prevent soil erosion. So basically, that's short, tall, and the tallest. Question: how do you call the study of trees? How do you call the study of trees? Starts with letter D. Yes, that's correct. Dendrology. So the study of trees is considered as dendrology. So we have the word annual, biennial, perennial. So annual usually complete their life cycle from germination through flowering and seed production in a single year or less, like cereals and leaf. So after a year, pwede na siyang mamatay. And then eventually, pwede na naman tayong magtanim. Okay? Biennial complete their life cycle in 2 years, like onion and carrot. So every 2 years. So bi means 2 years. Okay? Perennial, as I mentioned, longer duration. It lives many years and often die not from old age, but from an infection or some environmental trauma like shrubs and trees. Kaya nakikita niyo yung mga mangga natin, even how many years, they still thriving, still surviving. So we can consider them as perennial. Okay, annual, biennial, and perennial. In the Prof-Ed, pag nakita niyo perennial, okay, sabi universal, no, unchanging. So pag ibig sabihin, what is 2 years ago is still relevant and true today. Example, the teaching of humanities, or the teaching of literature, the teaching of history. Ayan. So everlasting idea, that is perennialism. Okay. Let me, let me close my Facebook. I can hear some notification. Ayan, sige. Let's proceed. How is a species defined? A, based on the ability to interbreed. B, based on the external appearance. C, based on the DNA protein sequences. D, based on the number of adaptations to the same habitat. Okay. What's your answer? Yeah, I can see A's here. Yes, that's correct. So that is the based on the ability to interbreed. What type of offspring do the same species produce? What type of offspring can you put in the chat box? What type of offspring do the same species produce? They produce what type of offspring? That's correct. It's a viable or fertile offspring, which has the ability, again, to replicate and to reproduce. Okay, that is correct. So I mentioned this, I think, in my last presentation, that there is actually a new branch of the hominin family. Pag sinabing hominin, that's the family, or hominid, hominidae, no? Human, family of humans, has been discovered at Calao Cave on the largest of the Philippine islands in Luzon, specifically in Calao, as I mentioned, Calao Cave in Tuguegarao. I mean in Cagayan. Remains belonging to at least 3 individuals of the extinct species. So pag sinabing extinct, no longer, no longer existed. Okay? Pag endangered, nanganganib. Near to extinction, malapit nang mawala. Okay? Ayan. Named Homo luzonensis have been found the archaeological team led by Armand Mejares. So just in case lang, no, matanong in the board exam, who led, no, the discovery of Homo luzonensis? This is actually archaeologist Armand Mejares from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. So the discovery was shared in the journal Nature in 2019. So very recent. Okay. So prior to the discovery of Homo luzonensis, we also have a one hominin species, okay, found in Indonesia, in Flores, Indonesia, which was scientifically known as Homo florescensis. Florescensis. Okay, so just in case. Okay, so basically the reason, okay, why humans are considered to be the highest form of animals, because ano na nga ang dahilan? What was the reason why humans are considered to be the highest form of animals? Can you put it in the chat box? It's because of our, okay, that's correct. Our rational thinking, no? Our ability to think, the large brain, okay, due to the intelligence. So let's, yeah, these are all correct, okay? So this is the Homo florescensis. This is actually the Homo sapien. So amount of bone around the eyebrow area, low skull, widest around the ears, with sloping forehead, and almost half the size of the Homo sapien, human female. So ayan, no? 3 feet, no? Pelvis like Australopithecus afarensis. So discovered in 2003 at Lianghu on the island of Flores in Indonesia. Just in case, so at least you are aware. Okay, so next. Which of the following taxonomic ranks is properly arranged from the most inclusive to the least inclusive? Okay. Again, kindly inspect our alternatives. Okay. I can see A, I can see B. Alright. So basically, we have, ayan, that's correct. Letter A. Bakit? Nakalagay dito is most inclusive, 'di ba? So, ang most inclusive natin is actually the species. And the least inclusive is actually the domain. Okay? Ayan. So, species, genus, family, order, class, phylum, kingdom, and domain. So, the most inclusive, we have the species, and the least inclusive is the domain. All right, so that is on tawag dito, taxonomical classification. Don King Philip came to order fresh green spinach. Okay, so that's correct. Okay, so next. Ayan siya, no? So we all already know this from domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Question: what is actually can you tell me whether it's a domain, kingdom, phylum, or what taxonomical classification? Sige, chordata. So ano na nga yung chordata natin? Okay. Of course, that is your phylum. Okay. How do we call the phylum if it's actually in the plant kingdom or kingdom plantae? What is actually the equivalent of phylum in the kingdom plantae? That is correct. Division. So we call it division. That's correct. Okay, sige, let's proceed. So what is the equivalent of, ito pala meron akong tanong, of a division in plant taxonomy? Sige nga, syempre alam nyo na yan. That is correct. Okay, syempre because that is correct. Letter D. Ayan. Sige. Wait lang. Actually, parang meron akong parang hindi ako mapalagay dito sa ating last question. Ay, sorry, yeah, sa recent question. So, ang tanong kasi, which of the following taxonomic rank is properly arranged from most inclusive to the least inclusive? Mukhang nagkamali lang ata ako ng emotion. So, pag sinabing most inclusive, ano ba? Species ba or domain? Sige nga, species ba or domain? Kasi pag most inclusive, mas ano siya, no? Yes, mas ano siya, mas tawag doon, mas malawak siya, kaya siya most inclusive. Pag least, usually exclusive siya, mas ano siya, mas maliit na. Okay, that's correct. So, sige, let me correct my tawag dito, my slide for a while. I stop sharing. I think I have I have missed the emoji. I'll bring it back to letter D, domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. That's correct. Okay. At least nako-correct natin. Okay? So next, let me arrange that. Tama ka, Ace. Yes. Oo nga. Medyo na, I think sabi ko, bakit parang mali ata yung sagot ko doon? Alright, that's correct. So most broad or broadest to the least inclusive. Sa ibang term, we call it from most inclusive to exclusive. Ayan. So that's correct. So letter D. Okay na tayo doon? Okay na ba? Yan. So tama naman. No? So sabi ko parang okay. So next. So that's it, no? So again, most inclusive or broadest to the exclusive or least inclusive. Okay? So alam na natin yan, phylum. Question. How do we call the genus if we actually taken it as a plural? Kasi kunyari walang genus sa pagpipilian. How do we pluralize genus? Can you put it in the chat box? We call it, natandaan nyo pa ba? Genus or genome? Genome kaya? Actually, it's genera. Okay, just in case no makita nyo. So, for example, if you are asked to arrange them at walang genus, that's genera. Okay, so alam nyo na to, phylum refers to principal taxonomic category of animals which ranks above class, okay, and below kingdom, while a division to a taxonomic ranking plants and fungi, which ranks above class and below kingdom as well. So we use division for usually for plants and fungi. Remember that fungi and plants are both heterotrophic also, no? And of course, animals are also heterotrophic. Plants are autotrophic, fungi are heterotrophic, animals are heterotrophic. Then used to classify animals and used to classify plants, fungi, and protists. Okay, and then a precise taxonomic level and less precise classification. Right? So next. So some major division of kingdom Plantae, no? So pag nakita sa board exam, which is an example of non-vascular plant, non-vascular plant, non-vascular plant, lagi niyang titignan ang bryophytes and ferns. Bryophytes. Usually nilalagay sa pagpipilian bryophytes. Pag non-vascular bryophytes, non-vascular bryophytes, okay? Or ferns, okay? Then for vascular plants, tracheophytes, so we have seedless plants like pteridophytes here, plants with seeds, spermatophytes, and naked seeds, gymnosperms, and enclosed seeds, angiosperms. Okay? So yeah. So next. For the division of kingdom Plantae, no, nakita naman na natin to. So we also have algae. Algae are actually plant-like protists. So basically, it's plant-like protists. Okay? So for the tissue differentiation, partial lang for the bryophytes. Okay? We also have the gymnosperms, which are usually reproduced by seeds, flowering, and fruit bear. Okay? So pag tanong sa board exam, anong anong family ang mga ferns to, they are actually belong to pteridophyte family. Pteridophyte. Pag moss, bryophyta or bryophytes. Okay? So next. So, ayan, no, ATP, alam na natin yan, it's actually an active transport or adenosine triphosphate. So basically, the production of ATP requires a form called an active transport. Remember that we also have the passive transport, and an example of passive transport, we have several examples of passive transport. Sige nga. Can you put in the chat box one example of a passive transport? Kasi one time pina-identify, is this process a passive or an active transport? So of course, osmosis is one example of passive transport. Apart from osmosis, we also have diffusion. What type of diffusion? Either facilitated diffusion or simple diffusion. Okay, so facilitated diffusion, simple diffusion, osmosis are actually forms or examples of passive transport. So question, how do we call again the diffusion in water? Diffusion in water. Okay, through a semi-permeable membrane, so that is osmosis. Okay, so yeah. Pag active transport, this is against the concentration gradient. So usually pag nakikita nyo this is against concentration gradient, ang ilalagay natin doon is active transport. Okay? So an organism is a heterotrophic multicellular whose cell have cell walls. To which kingdom must it belong? A. Animalia, B. Monera, C. Fungi, D. Plantae. Okay. Alright. Okay. Medyo iba-iba ang sagot natin na may C, but majority are C, then I can see A. Okay. Yeah. So heterotrophic. So heterotrophic daw, tanggalin na natin ang Plantae. Okay? So tanggalin na natin ang Plantae. There are monerans which are heterotrophic also. Okay? So A, B, and C, multicellular. Tanggalin na natin yung monera. A or C? Cell wall. Siyempre, walang cell walls ang animal, so we resort to letter C, fungi, under the kingdom fungi. Remember, Monera, in the 5 kingdom classification, is the kingdom for bacteria. So before, hindi pa naihihiwalay ang archaebacteria sa eubacteria. The true bacteria or the eubacteria, the primitive bacteria, the archaebacteria. Okay? And archaebacteria are actually bacteria which actually are fond of living in an extreme environment. Pag extreme, mga lubhang kakaibang environment, gaya ng masyadong maalat, halophilic, masyadong mainit, thermophiles, masyadong or gustong-gustong mag-release ng methane, methanogens, or mga sulfur-based or sulfuribus bacteria. So that is on Monera. So animalia, of course, that's your animals, and of course, your plants. Okay? So the sixth kingdom classification includes the eubacteria and archaebacteria, which is previously part of your Monera. So you have their unicellular. So basically, it's not multicellular like fungi, animalia, plantae. Okay, we have unicellular protista, archaebacteria, and eubacteria. So again, the cell wall for fungi is contain chitin. Okay, chitin for fungi, peptidoglycan for eubacteria, cellulose for plantae, no cell walls for animals like humans. Okay, next. Ayan, no, so we actually discussed partially some of the human body systems no before. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 lang to, Mr. Dice, just for you to be able to memorize them if you are using this mnemonic. So muscle or muscular system, respiratory system, digestive system, integumentary system, circulatory system, endocrine system, reproductive system, urinary, nervous, and skeletal. Ano ang wala dito? Anong system? Ang wala dito. Letter I. Wala dito ang correct, immune system. At dahil dyan, dahil pinag-uusapan natin ang system of the body, sige, mag-drill lang tayo, sige. Okay, identify what system I'm actually talking about. Hair, skin, and nails. Hair, skin, and nails. That is integumentary system. Okay. The heart. The heart. Okay, that is your circulatory system. Tinatawag din siyang cardiovascular system. How about 206 bones? 206 bones. Of course, that is your skeletal system. Okay. How about lungs? Lungs. Okay, that is respiratory system. How about actually, sige, para lang makita natin. How about organs that excretes waste materials? Sige. Organs that excretes waste materials. That is your excretory system. And one part of the excretory system are actually the urinary organs, no? The urinary system. So this is actually the excretory system. Okay, sige. Siguro last na lang. How about the cardiac muscle? Cardiac muscle. Okay, that is your muscular or blood. O sige na nga, isama na natin yung blood. Okay, how about blood? Bago ko kayo tanungin sa blood, sige nga, tingnan natin. What's the blood there? Okay, that is course circulatory system. Why? Because we have the heart, the blood, and the blood vessels. So pag nakita yun sa board exam, that is part of the excretory system. Okay, question. We're talking about blood now. Okay. How do we call the fluid portion of the blood? Can you put it in the chat box? How do you call the fluid portion of the blood? Okay. The answer is yes, that is correct. The answer is plasma. How do you call the other term for white blood cell? White blood cell. Sige, mabilis pa type ha. Sige. So sige, type ko din. So that is correct. Leukocytes. How about the red blood cell? Parang spelling pa ako. Red blood cell is also known as, ang bibilis yung mag-type. Seryoso ba kayo? Okay. Erythrocytes. So red blood cells are actually called erythrocytes. Okay, that's correct. How about the thrombocytes? Ano naman ang mga thrombocytes? Sige nga, ano ng mga thrombocytes? O iniba ko naman. Okay, the thrombocytes are actually your, that's correct, your platelets. Question. How do you call the cancer of the blood? How do you call the cancer of the blood? Okay, that is leukemia. How do you call the study of the blood? How do you call the study of the blood? Medyo na tumigil ah. Okay, we call it hematology. Alright, so hematology is the study of the blood. So kapag takot ka sa blood, kunyari may phobia ka sa blood, we call it hematophobia. So you are hematophobic. Okay, so next. Under which kingdom are slime molds and algae classified? Animalia, Monera, Fungi, or Protista? Okay. Of course. Ayan, natutuwa naman ako. Okay, I'm just so happy seeing your answers. Okay, ano ba? Ano ba talaga? Slime molds, algae. O, diba? O. Actually, these are proteins. Remember algae and protozoa? Slime molds kasi are fungus or fungi-like proteins. Diba? Then algae, alam niyo yan, algae, protozoa, these are actually considered under kingdom Protista. This is one of the tricky question in ano. So parang napakasimple lang ng tanong pero tricky siya. So at least alam na natin. Okay? Pero kapag molds lang, bread molds, yan, yeast, yan. These are under fungi. Ano pa yung fungi na meron? Microsporidia, mga fungi. Okay? So, meron kasi tayong tatlong classification ng proteins. The animal-like proteins like the sarcodinians, Ciliopora, zooflagellates, and Sparzoa. Okay? So, examples ng mga sarcodinians, mga amoebae, moving with pseudopodia. So, ang tawag dun sa locomotory organ nila is pseudopodia. Ang Ciliopora, ang locomotory organ nila ay mga cilia, at ang mga zooflagellates, ang locomotory organ ay mga flagella. Okay? Sparzoa naman mga spores yan. For plant-like proteins, we call it the algae. And the study of algae, again, is known as, ano na ulit, yung study ng algae. Let's start with letter P. That is, okay, nakalimutan niya na ba? That is phycology. Okay, phycology. All right, mycology for fungi, phycology for algae. All right, so rhodophyta, the red algae, chlorophyta, the green algae, the euglenoid or the euglena, moving with their flagella like the zooflagellates, and of course the fungals like proteins. We have slime molds and water molds, the oomycetes or oomycota. Okay, or oomycota. Next. Yan, emphysema or emphysema, no? So it's actually loss of lung elasticity, just in case makita niyo sa board, and leading to the destruction of the alveoli. And alveoli is actually the organ responsible for the exchange of gas. Okay, so characterized by barrel chest and clubbing of the fingers. Okay, so next, which of the following best describes an organism belonging to the kingdom Monera? Monera. A, it's a unicellular eukaryote. B, it's a unicellular prokaryote. B, it's a multicellular heterotrophs. D, it's a multicellular autotrophic eukaryote. Alright, so pwede na natin, since these are monerans, so pwede na natin tanggalin yung mga type cell na hindi naman pang monerans, like eukaryote. So tatanggalin na natin yung letter A and letter D. So between B and C, monerans are unicellular. So that is letter B. That's correct. All of you got it right. Yeah, thank you. Sige, next. Ayan, no? So remember, no? Yung Whitaker's classification. So 5, no? So we have Monera, Protista, Animalia, Fungi, and Plantae. So the 5 kingdom classification of Whitaker classifies all bacteria under Monera, prokaryote. Okay, then we'll also have Protista for the proteins or protozoa and algae. Then these are bacteria, Monera, then Animalia, Fungi, and Plantae. Question. Under the 2 kingdom classification, okay, ang kingdom Animalia and kingdom Plantae, saan kaya dati naka-classify ang mga photosynthetic microorganisms? Kingdom Animalia or Kingdom Plantae? Photosynthetic microorganisms. Pakilagay nga sa chat box. Is it Kingdom Plantae or Kingdom Animalia? Photosynthetic microorganisms. Okay, dahil photosynthetic siya, although microorganism siya, it is actually classified in the Kingdom Plantae. Tatandaan nyo yun, ha? Tatandaan. Sige. Next. Yan. So we also blood sugar level, hot and dry, sugar high, hyperglycemia, then cold and clammy, need some candy. Hypoglycemia. Hyperglycemia and then hypoglycemia. Okay, so that's something to do with your blood sugar level. So now which explains homeostasis? A, excess heat in the body. B, regulation of room temperature. C, maintenance of equilibrium in the body. D, abrupt changes in the internal environment, the proper functioning of the body. Hazel ba yan? Na si hyper at high. Okay. So of course, homeostasis has something to do with the maintenance of the equilibrium in the internal environment, and so that is letter C. Equilibrium meaning balance. There should be a balanced internal environment to achieve homeostasis. Okay? So internal home, di ba? Para sa ecology, ecology is actually study of home because eco means house. Homeo is in the internal environment. Okay? So baby's heartbeat can be heard through Doppler at 10 to 12 weeks gestation. Just in case lang matanong, it's actually 10 to 12 weeks, no? Gestation. Okay? Question, how do you call the sound of the heart? How do you call the sound of the heart? Yeah. Sabi ko na ba ito before? Okay, yes. No, we call it lubdub, not dugdug. Okay. So we call it lubdub. In figure of speech, tama ba? In figure of speech, ano na nga ba yun sa sounds? Sa figure of speech. It's actually onomatopoeia. Tama, di ba? Oo, mahirap spelling, di ba? Onoma, topo, then EI. Yes, correct. Next. At least alam nyo lang. Okay. So next. Which refers to the sum of all the chemical reaction that takes place in the cell of organism. Anabolism, catabolism, metabolism. So because, okay, sum of all the chemical reactions that takes place, okay, it's actually metabolism. Okay, it's more of the general or umbrella term metabolism. Between the two types here, which refers to the breaking down of energy or breaking down of molecules. Anabolism or catabolism? That's correct. Catai, to break down, catabolism. While anabolism is the building up of energy or building up of molecules. Right? So next. A chameleon changing colors to blend in with its surroundings, an example of blend. A, camouflage. B, hibernation. C, extinction. D, migration. Yes, this is part of their adaptation. Remember, one of the characteristics of life is adaptation, fitting in that particular environment. We call it camouflage. So that is changing colors to blend in the environment. Okay, so that is camouflage. Okay, next, which adaptation is employed by a viscera butterfly when it copies the monarch butterfly so that it does not get eaten? A, camouflage. B, play dead. C, mimicry. D, vino. All right, so that's part of mimicry. So they're actually imitating, no? So mimicry is something to do with imitation or copy. Nakita yung imitation, copying, panggagaya, panggagagad nung mga tawag dito ng mga less harmful, gusto ginagaya nila yung mga harmful animals so that they will not get eaten. Okay, so that's mimicry. So there is unity and diversity in the study of biology, which statement explains this? A, all living beings can be different, but simultaneously have something essential in common. B, a living being have structure unique to each. C, no living being can live alone. Or letter D, living things need one another. Okay, dahil mahaba yan. Kaya I can see a lot of A's. Alright, so unity and diversity, of course, all the living beings can be different, but simultaneously have something essential in common. So that is unity and diversity in the study of biology. Alright, so because this is part of the themes, no, in the study of biology. So we also have, no, the major types of rocks here. You can see igneous rock, sedimentary rock, and metamorphic rock. Okay, this is part of the tawag dito, relationship of the living things to the non-living things or the biotic to the abiotic. So pag nakita sa board exam, the relationship of biotic and abiotic are being studied in what field? The relationship of biotic and abiotic is studied in what field of biology? That is in ecology. So ayan, so you can see here petrology, the study of rocks. Since rocks have crucial roles also in living organisms because after weathering they'll actually uh, turn into soil, and soil is actually one of the abiotic factor needed by organisms to thrive, like that of the earthworm. Okay, so next. Teridology naman is the study of ferns, no? So kung botany is the general term for study of plants, we're going to have a specific like study of ferns. We have teridology, teridophyta. Remember ferns? Teridophytes. Okay? Yan. So dendrology, nasabi na natin kanina, is the study of trees, no? This includes their taxonomy, identification, physical characteristics, ranges, morphology, and ecology. We call it dendrology, study of trees. Phylology is the branch of dendrology about the gross and minute structure of wood. Phylology. So you remember that the age of the tree, okay, is based in what basis? How do we actually identify the age of a tree? Ano yung nagiging basis natin? What do we count? We count okay, that's correct, the annual rings to be able to identify the age. Pedology is the study of the formation and classification of soil. Okay, so that is pedology for soil formation. Okay, next. Which of the following is an example of prokaryotic cell? A, animal cell, B, eukaryote, C, bacterial cell, D, plant cell. Okay, this is an easy question. Prokaryotic cell, A, B, C, or D? Okay, that is correct. Bacterial cell. Question. Where can we find the genetic makeup of the bacterial cell? Where can we find the genetic makeup of the bacterial cell? Since bacterial cells are actually prokaryotic, they don't have nucleus, which basically houses the DNA. It's actually, specifically, it's actually in the nucleoid. Okay? Nucleoid. So, tatandaan niya na. Alright, next. Phycology, alam na natin yan, no? The study of algae. And algae is an example of protists under kingdom Protista in the even 5 or 6 kingdom classification. A cell has nucleus, is complex and large, and has membrane organelles. What type of cell is this? Bacteria, prokaryotic, eukaryotic, not enough information is given. Of course, that makes it different from the prokaryotic. We have membrane-bound organelles and we have nucleus. Okay? Okay. Ano nga yung tatanong ko na kanina? How do we call again the control center of the cell? How do we call again the control center of the cell? Nucleus, that's correct. Question. In eukaryotic cell, in what organelle can we find the DNA? In what organelle can we find the DNA? Okay. In what organelle can we find the DNA? Okay, I can see nucleus, I can see mitochondria, I can see nucleus, Okay, basically, the primary DNA, no, okay, please take note this, the primary DNA, again natin, the primary DNA is found in the nucleus. That's correct. The primary DNA, specifically in the nucleus. Okay, nandoon. But, did you know that apart from the nucleus, meron ding organelle sa eukaryotic cell na may DNA. We have two, right? One was mentioned, the mitochondria. May DNA yan. And what's the other one? Ano pa yung isang may DNA? Letter C. Okay, mitochondria and ano na yung isa? Parang nakalimutan nyo na ata. The chloroplast, remember? We call this as the secondary DNA, the mitochondrial DNA and the chloroplast DNA. Sir, bakit sila may DNA? Okay, remember, I don't know if part 2 ng slide ko, but I'll have an advanced information. Diba, remember that itong chloroplast na to at itong mitochondria are once believed to be prokaryotes na na-engulf ng eukaryotic cell. Kaya nailagay sila doon sa pinaka-cellular component. Kaya nga, di ba remember, sabi natin kanina, nasa nucleoid ang DNA ng mga prokaryotes, nakakalat lang. Same with the chloroplast and mitochondria. So, naandun lang din. So, they have the DNA component. Just in case lang matanong, at least we have the primary DNA in the nucleus and the secondary DNA found in mitochondria and chloroplast. Okay? So, next. Which errors or mutations in DNA have no impact on the DNA sequence? Okay? O, diba? Yan, nabasa daw yan ni Char. Yes. A, missense mutation. B, runaway mutation. C, silent mutation. D, silent admissense mutation. All right, so what's the answer, teachers? Okay. So which error mutation have no impact? Of course, that is letter C, the silent mutation. Silent mutation, no impact on the DNA sequence. Kaya siya, silent mutation. Okay? So that is letter C. Okay? Ayan. So we have point mutation. We have the silent mutation, the missense mutation, and the nonsense mutation. So basically for silent, single base substitution in the third base nucleotide position of a codon. And when we say codon, yun, diba, it's actually composed of the 3 DNA base. So this results in no change in amino acid. Note that the first 2 letters of the genetic code are the most critical. So no change, no? So silent. No? Missense, single base substitution in first or second base nucleotide position, and this results in changed amino acid. While nonsense, single base substitution that yields stop codon, there are 3 nonsense codons in the genetic code, which will equivalent to no protein. So therefore, that is silent mutation. Okay. So next, which one contains the hereditary materials? Okay. A, ADP, adenosine diphosphate. B, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. C, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Or letter D, RNA or ribonucleic acid. Okay. Okay, so I can see C, B, okay. D, all right. Yeah. So, of course, yes, your letter D, letter B, I mean, deoxyribonucleic acid actually contains the hereditary materials. Okay, so basically, it's actually the genes that the parents pass on to their offsprings, okay, through the process of, through heredity and genetics, okay? So meiosis involves blank successive cell divisions and results in blank daughter cells. Okay, A 2:4, B 3:6, C 2:6, D 2:6. Of course, this is a basic genetics question. So meiosis, no, involves 2 successive cell divisions and will result to 4 daughter cells. So that is on your meiosis for sexual reproduction or sexual cell division. Okay, so meiosis produces daughter cells that have blank of chromosomes as the parent cell. A, half the number. B, 1/3 the number. C, the same the number. D, 1/4 the number. I can see a lot of A's. Okay, produces that have blank of chromosomes the parent cell, that is correct. Half the number. So therefore, ilan? If that's half the number, ilan? Ilang chromosomes? That is correct. 23 chromosomes. Out of 23, ilan ang autosomes? Out of 23, ilan ang autosomes? That's correct. 22. 22. 22. Ilan ang sex chromosome? Ilan ang sex chromosome? Ilan? Isa. 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 That's correct. Tell me the female chromosome. Tell me the female chromosome. X. X. Female chromosome. XX. Male chromosome. Male chromosome. Male chromosome. XY. XY. Tell me, saan nanggaling ang mitochondria mo? Tell me, saan nanggaling ang mitochondria mo? Kay mama. Okay? Sa egg cell. It's actually in the ova or ovum. Okay, ovum. Okay, kay mama. Alright. Sige. Which of the following are man-made ecosystems? A, plantations and parks. B, grasslands. C, coral reefs and coastal zones. D, mangrove forests. Which of the following are man-made ecosystem? Okay, so that's part of your ecology. That is correct. Plantations and parks. Plantations and parks. Correct. Question. Saan usually matatagpuan? Where can you usually locate or find mangrove forest? Where can you usually find mangrove forest? Mangrove forest. Mangrove forest. In the coastal zone or coastal area. So pag nakita sa board exam, tinanong saan madalas nakikita ang mangrove forest, ang isasagot coastal area, sa malapit sa dagat. Question, how do we call the Filipino term for mangrove? Filipino term for mangrove. Okay, that is in your bakawan. How do we call the meeting point of fresh and salt water? How do we call the meeting point of fresh and salt water? That's correct. Estuary. How do we call the water in the estuary? How do we call the type of water in the estuary or sabangan? That is your brackish water. So pag nakita sa board exam, that's brackish water. Ano ba yung brine? Brine is actually the solution of water and salt. So brine, pag nakita sa board exam, which of the following is a type of solution? Ang sasagot, brine. Because brine is composed of salt and water. Okay. So carrying capacity, just in case, no? The environment is a carrying capacity for each population. So carrying capacity is the maximum number of organisms in a population supported by an ecosystem resources or limiting factor. Ito yung kaya niyang i-maintain o kaya niyang na number of organisms in a particular population. So affected by factors such as the amount of food, the water and space, and can change when these factors change. So more food will actually higher carrying capacity. So for as of now, no, parang around 7.2 billion na ang tao sa mundo. And still naman, medyo feeling ko naman na okay pa rin ang carrying capacity ng Earth. But there will come a time that the population will actually, skyrocket. And we will never know, if the still Earth can actually, sustain the population, okay? The organisms and the group of organisms, of course, population in the on Earth. Okay. So next, okay. In particular ecosystem, which trophic level is occupied by the herbivores? A, decomposers. B, producers. C, primary consumers. D, secondary consumers. Herbivores. So I can see, okay, I can see a lot of C's. All right. So since herbivores, after the producers, after the autotroph, we have the herbivore. The herbivores are the one eating the plant or the autotroph, and so that will actually be considered primary consumer. Correct? Okay. How do you call the consumer that feeds on herbivores? How do you call the consumer that feeds on herbivores? Of course, these are the secondary consumer. Correct. And then, yung kakain kay secondary consumer, ay tinatawag natin, okay, how do we call the producers who eat the secondary consumer? I mean, how the consumers who eat the secondary consumers? Tertiary. Ano susunod sa tertiary? Okay nga, pakilagay mo nga yung susunod sa tertiary. Lumalabas din yan, ha? Okay, quaternary. Imbis na quarter, tatanggalin mo yung R, quaternary consumer. Anong susunod sa quaternary? Okay, sige, mag-type din ako. Anong susunod na sa quaternary? Wala nagtatype pa. That is decomposers kaya? Sige, malalaman natin, may question ako about decomposers. Voltes 5, out of reach na. Actually, it's called 5th order consumer. Okay, and then 6th order, 7th order, 8th order. Ganun lang yun. Do not overthink. So pag nasa board exam kayo, huwag kayong mag-overthink. So pipili lang kayo doon sa binigay na pagpipilian sa inyo. Okay, pag wala doon ang sagot, mamili ng pinakamalapit. Because there are certain items na wala ka talaga makitang sagot. So, pipili ka na lang. And avoid, no, in my personal opinion, avoid letter E. Just choose among 8. Okay? So, next. So, these are some of the major nutritional modes. Mode of nutrition, we also have photoautotroph and chemoautotroph. Remember that photoautotrophs like plants need light in order to photosynthesize. Example are actually our photosynthetic prokaryotes, cyanobacteria, plants, of course, certain proteins like the algae. While chemoautotroph do not use light, but instead inorganic chemicals. That's why they actually manufacture their food using the process chemiosynthesis. Photosynthesis, chemiosynthesis. So certain prokaryote example are sulfuribus bacteria, which is sulfur, no? They love sulfur here. Heterotroph are those that feed on autotrophs. We have photoheterotroph, organic compounds. Certain prokaryotes like Rhodobacter and Chloroflexus, and the chemoautotroph, heterotroph, organic compounds like many prokaryotes, for example, and protists, fungi, and animals, and some plants also. Remember that plants also are parasitic in nature. Some are carnivorous, I mean, carnivorous plants like the Venus flytrap, diba? Sandews, what else? Lisa, feature plant. So, question, bakit carnivore sila? Ano ulit element yung kulang sa lupa kaya nagiging carnivore sila? These plants tend to eat animals. Ano yung element na yon? The correct answer is nitro. Tatandaan nyo na, it's the nitrogen. Okay? And it's the most abundant element in our atmosphere. Okay? So next. So the presence of hanging plant or epiphytes, I mentioned this I think before, on the branches of trees but do not derive food from the trees is an example of blank. A, commensalism. B, mutualism. C, competition. D, parasitism. Ano yan? Yung mga epiphytes na naka-attach sa mga puno, lang mangga, yung mga brown na yon. Okay, we call it, yes, that's correct. I can see a lot of A's. Correct kayong lahat. Commensalism. That's correct. Commensalism. Sige nga, pakitype nyo nga sa chat box natin yung natatandaan yung uri ng commensalism. Natatandaan nyo pa ba yan? Nilagay ko ba? Parang hindi ko nilagay. Okay. Tatandaan nyo pa ba yung dalawa? Letter P and letter I? Sige, di-discuss ko later. Foracy and inquilism. Sige, titignan natin later. Okay, so epiphytes and trees, tulad nito, di ba? Are plants that grow on the bark of trees. Now, the epiphytes get nutrients from the air and get extra sunlight by growing on taller trees in the forest. So the trees are not helped or harmed by this. That's why commensalism is also considered as a positive zero relationship. Because positive, benefiting the other organism is unharmed. Okay? So next, what intraspecific relationship may exist between a tilapia and a dalag in fish pond ecosystem? A, commensalism. B, mutualism. C, competition. D, predation. course, that is letter, yes, a very easy question. Letter C, competition. Okay, there are two type of competition. Can you put it in the chat box? The two type of competition among species. Okay. Natandaan niyo pa ba? Yes, the inter and intraspecific. Interspecific competition and intraspecific competition. Sabihin niyo nga sa akin kung inter ito or intraspecific. Okay? Gumamela and Rosal fighting for the nutrient of the soil. Gumamela and Rosal. Okay. Intra or inter? Okay, so we can consider this an intras because they are almost the same, no? Ano naman, species. Because they are both flowering. Paano naman kapag, for example, rattlesnake and tiger? Yan. Rattlesnake and tiger. Ayan. Two different types of species or organisms that is inter-specific competence. Pag intra, pareho. No? So in this case kasi, both fish species, kaya siya intraspecific, tilapia and talat. Okay? So that is for competition. What relationship exists when one animal hunts, kills, and eats another animal? Commensalism, mutualism, competition, predation. Siyempre, that is your predation. That is correct. Okay? So we have the predator and prey. Very basic yan. Okay? So yeah, interspecific within one species and interspecific between different species. Between two species. Okay, so that is for your competence. Which refers to the close relationship between two different species of organisms living together. A, amensalism, B, food web, C, energy pyramid, D, symbiosis. What is the answer? I can see letter D, another D, another D. All right. Correct. So that is symbiosis. Now, symbiotic relation, where they actually have a close relation. So symbiosis is a close relationship between two organisms in which one organism lives near on or even inside another organism, and in which at least one organism benefits. Okay, so that is symbiosis. Example, of course, your mutualism, commensalism. How much energy available at one trophic level is incorporated in the tissues of animals at the next level? A, 5%, B, 15, C, 10, D, 15. Okay, I can see a letter C here. That is 10%. That's correct, no? The 10% energy transfer. Okay, so this is actually the effects of Lindman's efficiency or 10% rule. Top predators are sensitive to changes in the energy flow of an ecosystem and cannot have more than 4 or 5 levels of trophic level pyramid. Why? So the amount of energy and space needed to feed animals on higher trophic would be larger than the amount of energy expended to forage. So usually, anong implication ng mga nasa top of the food chain? They tend to eat more organisms since the energy being passed from one organism to another is just 10%. So omnivores can switch trophic levels depending on the food sources that are available. They can be herbivore or they can be carnivore just like you. So eating at lower trophic levels can support more members of a population in an ecosystem. Okay. So next, which of the following is not always true about living things? A, living things are single-celled organisms. B, living things maintain internal consistency. C, living things reproduce sexually or sexually. D, living things take in energy and use it for maintenance and growth. Okay, so what's the answer? Very obvious is the answer. Not always true because not all organisms are single-celled. Remember. Okay, human, single-celled o ano ba tayo? Ano ba tayo? Human. Human being. Are you unicellular? Multicellular. Correct. So, letter A is not true. Letter B speaks of homeostasis. Letter C speaks of reproduction. And letter D speaks of what? Metabolism, growth, and development. Okay? So, that is some of the characteristics of life. Okay? Okay, so ayan na ulit. Single-celled organism. Which term refers to the breaking down of food molecules to release the stored chemical energy? A. Cellular respiration. B. Oxidative phosphorylation. C. Metabolism. D. Pyruvate oxidation. Okay. Letter. Okay, that is correct. Letter A, di ba? Breaking down food molecules to release the stored chemical energy. Okay? So basically, this is ano yung inaano natin dito? Okay, to release the stored chemical energy. This is actually the reciprocal of your photosynthesis. Kabaligtaran nito. So, di ba, for cellular respiration, what we use are actually the the oxygen and glucose as your raw materials. So we will actually break down the food molecules, no, these glucose, and will have carbon dioxide and water. So that is cellular respiration. Yung metabolism, di ba, nakita na natin kanina, this is actually pertaining to the sum total. Okay? Sum total of the energy, no, in a human body. So meron tayong dalawa, no, na example. Okay? So yung nauna nating example, which is cellular respiration, is an example of catabolism. So pag nakita sa board exam, cellular respiration is an example of A. Anabolism, B. Catabolism. Ang sasagot natin, catabolism. Why? Because large molecules are broken down in small ones and energy. In this case, in the case of cellular respiration, what we are breaking down is actually the raw material glucose. Okay? The glucose is broken down and energy is released. Okay? While anabolism, small molecules are assembled into large one and energy is required. So photosynthesis, therefore, is an example of anabolism. Okay? So what is actually the energy being used? The solar energy or the light energy. Again, tatandaan na. Okay, next. Which process do some animals undergo when they go into a deep winter sleep and so body activity slow down? Camouflage, hibernation, extinction, migration. Okay, alam nyo na yan. Sige, that is hibernation, tinatawag nating winter sleep. Okay, how do you call the summer sleep? How do you call the summer sleep? If hibernation is to winter sleep, summer sleep is known as blank. Letter E. Wala pala dyan. Letter E is the start of the word. Tandaan niyo pa? Yes, that's correct, Romel. Estivation or summer sleep. So hibernation is to winter, estivation is to summer. Okay? So ano naman ang migration? Well, migration is actually the movement, diba, of species, no, from one locale to another. What are the two types of migration? Can you put in the chat box? Ecology. Sige natin yun. What are the two types of migration? In ecology, we have the E and E. Diba? E and E, emigration and immigration. Okay, that's correct. Question, sige. Sa dalawang yan, when an organism, okay, when an organism leave out of an area, ibig sabihin, abandon an area. What is that? Immigration or emigration? Okay. Umalis siya, no? Sa isang area. Kunyari, nasa Castillejos siya. Pupunta siya, lalabas ng Castillejos. Pupunta siya sa ibang area. So that is, okay, emigration, di ba? Pag exceed. Exceed. So emigration lalabas. So from an organism leaving an area or abandoning an area is actually emigration. How about an organism going, no, to Castillejos, going in an area, in a new area? Okay. How do you call it? No? Kunyari, yung isang organism papasok sa isang area. Inside. Ha? Yun yung mga ano natin. Immigration naman siya. I naman. IMM. Okay? Immigration, immigration inside. Again, emigration, EMI, exit, umaalis yung organism sa isang area. Pagpapasok sa isang area, we call it immigration, inside. Tatandaan nyo yan. Okay? So this is basic ecology. Alright? Extinction, alam nyo na yan, pagkawala ng mga species due to different factors. Question. What was the reason why dinosaurs became extinct? Anong dahilan? What was the speculation of scientists? The very reason why the dinosaurs became extinct. It's actually due to, yes, the impact of asteroid. No? So because of the impact of asteroid, nagkaroon ng extinction. Eh kung walang asteroid impact, wala kayong nakita sa pagpipili ng asteroid, anong ibang term natin? Ano ibang dahilan na pwede natin makita? Okay. Pag walang asteroid, anong other celestial body kaya ang pwede? COVID. Okay. Actually, pag nakita nyo yung meteoroid, yan. Comet, yan, mga yan. Pwede yan. No? So makikita nyo comet, meteoroid, or asteroid. Kasi speculation. Although, may mga evidences. Okay? So next. Which cellular part is not found in animal cell but is found in plants? A cell membrane, B central, B C cell wall, D vacuole. Ayan ang sagot. Okay. Okay. Correct, di ba? So ano yan? That is actually cell wall because animal cell do not have cell wall. So pag tinanong sa board exam, what type of cell wall do animal cells possess? Okay, nothing, no, wala. Okay, pag plants, cellulose, pag fungi, chitin, pag bacteria, in general bacteria or eubacteria, that is peptidoglycan. Among these options, saan naman dyan ang responsible for cell division? Okay. Or included in cell division. So that is letter B or centric. How about storage? For storage. Okay, letter D. That's correct. Okay. So next, ayan, no? So this is an example of a plant cell. You have there the cell wall, no? Ano na nga ulit yung ating mga, nakilagay ba rito? Yes. Yung mga holes natin dito sa cell wall, we call it the plasmodesmata. Pag iisa lang plasmodesma, pag marami plasmodesmata. Kapag iisa stoma, pag marami stomata. Diba? So tanong, bakit or saan mas marami ang stomata? Is it in the upper or in the lower part of the leaf? Saan mas marami ang stomata? Lower. Bakit lower? Bakit sa lower ang mas marami ang stomata? Okay, bakit? What's the reason? Hula lang. Hula lang. Sige. Okay, lower because kung nasa upper, okay, imagine, di ba? Masyadong magiging magiging madalas, no? Or often ang transpiration. Ano mangyayari? Mawi-wilt, no, ang halaman kasi magkakaroon lagi na lang may transpiration, the evaporation and plant. So basically nandun siya sa mas marami ang nasa lower. Yeah. Question. How do you call a stomata that is open? Remember, nag-open and close yan. May time na nag-close at may time na nag-open. Sige. Anong tawag natin sa sa open stomata? Okay. We call it is it flaccid or turgid? Pag open, this is turgid, di ba? So turgid pag open stomata. Sabihin natin. Turgid, open. Pag close, ayan, flaccid. No? So usually, kailangan din nila mag-close para hindi din naman ma-evaporate, no? Through the process of transpiration yung water para lang to maintain their internal environment. Okay, ano pang pwede natin makita? Peroxisome, andito pala siya. Peroxisome, So, pag tinanong kayo, ano yung pinoproduce nito, anong compound, si peroxisome. That is, ano ng compound yung pinoproduce na, HP. Tatandaan nyo pa? Hydrogen peroxide. So basically, nagpo-produce siya ng hydrogen peroxide, no? Para hindi malason yung cell. Okay? So we also have mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, chloroplast, the site of photosynthesis, lysosome, the suicide sac, intracellular digestion, ribosome, the site for protein synthesis, ano pa? We also have the nucleus, no, kung saan nandiyan yung DNA synthesis. So pag tinanong sa board exam, where does DNA synthesis take place or occur? Nucleus. Sabi, nucleus. Again, DNA synthesis, nucleus, protein synthesis, ribosome. Okay? So yun lang naman. Ano pa pwedeng tanong? Golgi, of course, that's for modifying, sorting, and packaging. Okay? And then, ano to? Vacuole for storage. Okay? So next. If placed in a hypertonic solution, a plant cell will burst. B, shrink in size. C, swell. D, remain constant in size. Okay. So ano? Of course, pag hypertonic, no? Pag nalilito pa rin kayo sa hypertonic, hypotonic, pag may R, shrink or shrivel. No? So shrink in size is the answer. Pag burst, ano naman pag burst or swell, A or C, we call it the solution. That is hypotonic solution. Pag equal, remain constant in size, anong tawag doon? Anong tawag doon? Isotonic. Iso means equal. Kaya nga meron tayong isosceles triangle, triangle with equal sides. Okay? Oh yeah. Next. Ayan, no? Difference between hypotonic. So pag nakita nyo, the cells inflate, invention burst. No? So bursting, swelling, ayan. So hypotonic. Okay? The water is transported into the cell, solid concentration inside the cell is higher. While the cells shrink or shrivel, water is transported out from the cell and solid concentration inside the cell is low. Okay? What type of cell is being shown in the in the figure? Anong klaseng cell yan? That is correct. Erythrocytes or red blood cell. Anong mas marami dapat? Red blood cell or white blood cell? Yes, red blood cell dapat. Should be larger compared to the white blood cell. All right. In which order the following stages of mitosis occur? Interphase, prophase, prometaphase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. A, B, C, or D? Yan. Alright, syempre, no, nakaayos na yan. Interphase, the IP-MAT, diba? IPROMAT. Okay, so that is interphase, prophase, prometaphase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Question, what phase in these particular stages where you can actually better study the chromosomes? The metaphase. Okay, in what phase naman dito ang naka-align ang chromosomes at the center? Okay, saan naman? Anong phase dyan? Still, of course, metaphase. That's correct. Metaphase. Ayan, no? The cell cycle has four main stages. No? The cell cycle is a regular pattern of growth, DNA replication, and cell division. So you have your interphase here. Okay, then prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, then cytokinesis. Okay, so you have your GAP1 where cells grow, carry out normal functions, and replicate their organelles. Then synthesis, the DNA synthesis, and the additional growth, or the G2 or the growth. And then you have the cell division. Okay, so to remember that, you can use the mnemonics, go Sally, go make children. Diba? Growth 1 or G1, S is for synthesis, DNA synthesis, then growth 2, then you have your mitosis, iPromat, and then of course your cytokinesis. Okay, go Sally, okay, go make children. Ayan, parang humayo kayo at magpakarami. Ayan. Pag just in case lang, no, na ipa-arrange ito. From G1S, G2, mitosis, and cyto. organism. Okay? In the energy pyramid, which group of organisms found at the base? A, producers, B, third order, C, first order, D, second order. Of course, the base is, this is a basic bio, basic echo, that is producers. Other term for producers, pakilagay niya nga sa chat box. Other term for producers. Okay. Autotrophs. Okay, true or false? Plants are the only producers. True or false? Plants are the only producers. False, because there are also algae, which of course are proteins, plant-like proteins. And there are also some photosynthetic bacteria. Okay, next. I have seen, we have already discussed that there is 10% energy transfer. Though pag pinakompute kayo sa Majorship, sige, mag-ano tayo, deal tayo. The mango tree, for example, are the producers in the food chain, has 10,000 kilocalorie of energy. Okay, 10,000 kilocalorie of energy. How many kilocalorie energy will the secondary consumers receive? Okay, again, the producers or the mango trees has 10,000 kilocalorie. How many kilocalorie of energy will the secondary, okay, consumer receive? Will the secondary consumer receive? Okay, so 100 kilocalorie. Minus lang to. So 10,000, tanggalin mo yung isang zero. Sa primary consumer, 1,000. Sa secondary, tanggalin mo rin yung zero, 100. Then tanggalin mo yung zero. 10 sa tertiary consumer. Sa quaternary consumer, ilan na lang? Sa quaternary consumer, ilan na lang? Kung 10 kilocalorie sa tertiary, ilan sa quaternary? Ilang kilocalorie? Bibilis nyo mag-compute, sabi. O, ilan? O, bakit natigil na kayo? 10,000, 1,000, 110. Ilan sa quaternary? 1 kilocalorie. O, tatandaan ha, 1 kilocalorie. Okay. Kung 1 kilocalorie sa quaternary, ilan sa fifth order consumer? Ilang kilocalorie sa fifth order consumer ang marireceive? 0.1. 0.1 kilocalorie. Okay, ganun lang ha. So again, kung ang producer natin is 10,000, the primary consumer is 1,000, 100 for secondary, 10 for tertiary, 1 for quaternary, 0.1 for for fifth order consumer. Sir, paano mini-measure ang energy food? Actually, they use the unit kilocalorie. Ano to? Isahan to. Kilocalorie. Kilocalorie unit ang ginagamit natin siya. Kaya siya kcal. Pinagsama, no? Kilocalorie. Okay? So ayan na. So meron ding heat loss. So saan napupunta ang heat loss? Sa environment or ecosystem. So the 90% actually goes to the ecosystem. Sir, paano kung wala po sa choices yan? Yung alin? Yung kilocalorie. Calorie. Kasi kilogram is kilogram is tawag doon. Iba na yon. That is the basic unit of mass. You remember? Then calorie yan sa food energy. Okay na tayo doon? O kung wala, kung magkaiwala yung kilo sa calorie, we go to the calorie. Okay? Again, that's a good point. Okay, next. Yeah, so photoautotroph ng ecosystem where they are found. So ayan na siya. No? So we have the plants, like terrestrial. We have also algae, diatoms, and seaweed, and aquatic, then bacteria, cyanobacteria, and purple bacteria, aquatic or terrestrial. Okay? So which biome is the coldest? A, temperate coniferous forest. B, tropical rainforest. C, temperate grassland. D, tundra. A, B, C, or D? Okay? Yes. That's correct. Of course, tundra. So wala nang iba kundi tundra. Question, saan ang Pilipinas dyan? A, B, C, or D? Yes, tropical rainforest. Okay. Question, are we above or below the equator? Are we above or below the equator? Between? Are we in between? Are we below? we are actually slightly above the equator. In what tropic? Kaya siya tropical. Ano tayong tropic? Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn? Tropic of Cancer or Tropic of Capricorn? Yes, we are part of the Tropic of Cancer, Equator, Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? So kaya siya tayo tropical rainforest. Ayan. Tundra comes from the Finnish word tunturia, meaning treeless, extremely cold climate covered by ice for less than 6 months. Okay? Per year, no? Low biotic diversity dahil nga sobrang lamig, permafrost, usually mga plants dito hindi masyadong leaf. Usually either leafless or ano lang sila, needle-like ang kanilang mga leaves, no? Or kaya mga very grassy lang, short season of growth and reproduction, and energy and nutrients in the form of dead organic matter and large population oscillations. So tundra is the coldest, followed by the boreal forest, tinatawag din siyang coniferous forest, o tinatawag din siyang other term for coniferous forest or boreal forest, letter T. Other term, that is tundra, and then sunod sa tundra, pababa, taiga. That's correct. Then we also have deciduous forest, we have chaparral. Usually ito sa mga chaparral, meron siyang point in time na medyo wet, may wet part, and then may dry part, then grassland area, then desert. Okay? And then of course, we have our tropical rainforest, including some of the savanna and the desert. Question. All deserts are hot. True or false? All deserts are hot. Okay. True or false? That is false. Okay. Pag tinanong sa board exam, what is the largest hot desert? Okay. Largest hot desert. The question, largest hot desert. The answer is Sahara. Largest cold desert. What is the largest cold desert? Antarctica. Pag walang sinabi largest desert, we go to Antarctica. Okay, that's correct. Awesome. Yeah, very good. So what is being shown in the renewal of a forest after a fire? A, autogenic succession. B, primary succession. C, allogenic succession. Or D, secondary succession. Parang lang, nililito lang kayo. Pero alam niyo ang sagot. Tama? Okay, after a fire, that's already a secondary succession. Third question, fire lang ba? Any disturbance. Hindi lang fire. Okay, any disturbance. Okay, pwede yung, strong typhoon probably, o kaya kaingin farming probably, or anthropogenic activity probably. So that's secondary success. Okay, so may existing ecosystem nagkaroon ng fire, though that could be considered secondary section as succession. Then after several years, like 2 years, magkakaroon ng annual plants, 3 to 4 years, grasses and perennials, hanggang magkaroon tayo ng climax community again. So the pinnacle of the ecological system is your climax community. Okay, so basically, pag nagkaroon na naman tayo ng disturbance, ayan, magkakaroon na naman ng ng growth of annual plants to the climax community. Okay, what is the initial establishment naman of a plant community in a new area? So new area, A, aggregation, B, invasion, C, excesses, D, nudation. Okay. Okay, I can see D. Yeah, I can see D, I can see C. Okay, kapag establishment of a plant community in a new area, nagkakaroon tayo ng excesses. Okay? So let's see, paano ba yan? So ayan, So usually, steps in ecological succession, nudation, invasion, migration, then excesses. Then aggregation, competition, reaction, stabilization, and climax. So ano ba yung tanong? Establishment of a plant community. So basically, for the plant community, ayan, meron na tayo sa excesses. So usually kasi dito, mga rocks pa lang to, we call it as the bare land, or rocks. So but for the excesses, ayan na, nagsisimula na yung initial plant. So excess is actually the process for the establishment of the initial plants on a bare area. Okay, the germination, for example, of reproductive bodies and the growth of the plant to maturity. So these processes depended on the climatic, edaphic, or biotic factors. So the success of plant depends upon some of the adaptation to withstand and favorable condition, which include both biotic and abiotic condition, or what we call dormancy. Again, initial plants excesses. Okay. So the remora fish probably has no effect on the shark, but the remora benefits from it. What type of relationship is this? Predation, parasitism, mutualism, or commensalism? That is mutualism or commensalism. Pag nakita remora and shark, no, I can see C, I can see D. Okay. I can see mutualism. Okay. Actually, it's commensalism. Pag shark, di ba, andun no, the remora fish para has no effect on the shark, but remora benefits from it. Okay. Ngayon, kung nakikiride siya, si remora nakikiride, may benefit siya. Anong benefit ni shark? Wala. Unharmed siya. Tama? So basically, hindi siya mutualism. Kasi wala namang benefit na nakukuha si shark from the remora. Tama ba? Tingnan natin. Yan lang di ba? Usually, yung mga tira-tirang pagkain ni shark, pwedeng kainin ni remora, and then heat siya because takot din siya sa tawag dito, takot din siya sa sa mga predator. So sino magbe-benefit? Remora. Remora is actually the fishes. So anong benefit niya yon? Question, anong benefit ni shark? Sige nga, pakisulat nga kung may benefit si shark. Wala, 'di ba? Wala ang benefit ni shark. So zero. So zero plus positive, so that is commensalism. Kung meron sana siya shark na benefit, mutualism, 'di ba? Friendship daw. Not really, So basically, no? Okay, nagtatanggal ng parasite sa mouth ni shark. Hindi kasi na si remora will actually go to the will actually parang go to the mouth and then clean it. Parang hindi ganon So it's just really for riding actually. So ang tawag natin doon in the type of commensalism, kung nakikihitch lang siya para lang din maprotektahan siya, we call it foracy. Okay? Pag nakita sa board exam, hindi masyadong tinuturo sa kasi nga very advanced. So dahil by major kay dapat alam nyo. Foracy is hidden. So yan ang ginagawa ni remora kay shark. Okay? Ano naman yung isa? Inquilism. Ito yung sinabi ko kaninang type of commensalism. Sa inquilism naman, naglagay ka for example ng orchids doon sa tanga ng isang puno. For example, mango. Okay lang si mango, wala siyang benefit. Pero si orchid, mas malapit siya sa araw, that is source of light, and then mas malapit siya sa source of precipitation. So that is inquilism, intimate association between two animals in which one partner lives within the host, obtaining shelter and perhaps a share of the host food. So that is inquilism. Okay? So again, ano yung pinakita ng shark and remora? This is foracy or inquilism. Foracy or inquilism. So that is correct, no? So that is foracy with S. Okay. So yun. All right. Sige, next. So commensalism, is a type of relationship to living organ in which one organ benefit from the other. Like for example, tree frogs use plants as protection. Plants okay lang sila, unharmed man sila. Okay, pwedeng pag umulan, makisilong. Cattle egrets eat the insects stirred up by cattle when they are grazing. So basically, ganun din sa carabao. And ano pa yung kasama ni carabao? Ano yung kasama ni carabao? Yung kumakain din ng ng mga kutu-kuto niya. No? So pwede yun. Okay? Then, golden, jackals, once they have been expelled from a pack will trail a tiger to feed on the remains of its kills. So pwede rin siyang inquilism kasi yung mga natira. Okay? Ayan, heron, yes, carabao and the hare. Oo nga pala, mutualism nga pala yan. Sinasabi ko lang. Okay, naalala ko lang. Okay, sige. Disease of the skeletal system causing abnormal curvature of the spine, which is noted to be a known cause, and heredity at times. What do you call this condition? Fracture, scoliosis, osteoporosis, osteomalacia. Okay, I can see C, I can see B, I can see D, yeah. Sa bagay kasi very general, no? But it's causing abnormal curvature of the spine. Pag ganon, a known cause and cause which actually pertains to is scoliosis. pa-S yan, curvature. So yeah. So it's actually degeneration of the spinal joints, kaya siya scoliosis. So usually ang ginagawa, nagkakaroon sila ng metal frame dito as parang ano nila, immediate or parang therapy na para hindi din mahirapan no, yung tao na maglakad. So it's curvature kasi of the spine. So osteomalacia siya naman, usually no, as you can see this the normal bone, and ito naman yung osteomalacia. You can see a lot of gaps here. So celiac disease, kidney or liver dysfunction, and then anti-epileptic. That is for osteomalacia. Then osteoporosis characterized by low bone mass and structural deterioration. The normal bone versus the osteoporosis. So homeostatic bone remodeling is altered and the rate of bone resorption is greater than the rate of bone formation. So basically, etong mga to, you know, these usually degenerative na to. So usually pag tumanda, lalo na no, nagkakaroon ng mga brittle bones no, leading to osteoporosis. So how do we call again, I mean, what type of food do we need to eat no, to have a strong bones? Ano yung mga type of food na dapat natin kainin? Ang mga vitamin-rich na food. No? Kailangan rich in vitamin ano, kapag sa bones. So we have calcium and of course, okay, so you have your vitamin D, di ba? Calciferol. Yes, vitamin D and calcium. So the chemical name for vitamin D is calciferol. Okay? So yan, tat natin, calciferol. Vitamin D, calciferol. Sige nga. Try nga natin yung ano lang, yung mga basic vitamin. How about vitamin A? Other chemical name ng vitamin A. That's correct. Retinol. Sorry, vitamin A yun. How about vitamin D? Vitamin C. Vitamin C? Yes, that's correct. Your ascorbic acid. So kapag lack ng vitamin C, ano na nga ulit yung sakit na yon? Lack of vitamin C? That is correct. Is scurvy, ascorbic acid, diba? Is scurvy, ascorbic acid. Question, how about lack of vitamin D? Yung common, tinatanong sa board exam, rickets. That's correct. Rickets, lack of vitamin D. Okay, that's correct. Question, how do you call the vitamin E? Chemical name for vitamin E. That is correct. Tocopherol. Very good. No, gagaling nyo naman. Yan, very good. How about vitamin K? One of the, my favorite. Ang bilis nyo Okay. So, tinatawag din siyang actually, we call it vitamin K anti-hemorrhage vitamin. Inaampat niya yung dugo. No? We call it phylloquinone. So, yan. Yan, sige. Now we go to this question. Considered as essential to human life as it gives us framework and support to protect the vital organs and other structures of the body, bones, tissues, joints, cartilages. I can see B, I can see A. Okay, iba-iba. I can see A. Yeah, essential to life. This framework. Sige. Okay, the correct answer is framework. Yes, bones, right? So this is part of your skeletal system. Okay, that's correct. Question, how do you call the aggregate of cells? How do you call the aggregate of cells? Pag tinanong sa board exam, aggregate of cells, that is correct. Tissue. How do you call the study of tissues? How do you call the study of tissues? Yes, ang bibilis. Histology. That's correct. Histology is the study of tissues. Next. Ayan, so this is some of the illustration of the bones, the function of the bones. So we have the rib cage form protective cage around the heart and lungs and some vital organs. And so we have also the rib cage here. Okay. How about the skull? What does it protect? If the rib cage protects the vital organs, including the heart and lungs, what does the skull protects? Of course, your brain. Other term for skull. Other term for skull. It is also known as cranium. Kaya kapag cranial, it pertains to the skull or brain. Okay, that's correct. How do you call this? How do you call this bone in your in the part of your rib cage. Yeah, this is what we call your sternum. That is correct. That is your sternum. How do you call naman the kneecap? How do you call the bone in the kneecap? We call it patella. Kneecap, patella. So yun lang naman halos. Okay, longest bone. Longest bone in the human body. Dr. Butter. Longest bone is femur. That's correct. Saan ang femur? Saan ang femur? Okay. Okay. That is correct. Sa thigh ninyo. Sa hita. Okay, iba-iba. Very good. Tama naman. Okay, next. So human skeleton, adults versus infants, remember that baby has 350, but the adult has 206. What happens? Nagkakaroon ng fusing together as we grow. So pag tinanong sa board dito, do babies have larger, has greater number of bones than adults? That is yes. Okay, opo. Okay? So yon. Ano pa bang pwede nating matanong? Ayan, no? That is your femur. Then you have your patella. Okay? Oh, yeah. Femur and patella. Alright, so yun lang naman for now. Okay, next. How are mitochondria and chloroplasts similar to bacteria? A, they lack ribosomes. B, they are larger than normal cells. C, they are bounded by a single membrane. D, they have limited amount of genetic material. Emma Fagsao. Kilala niyo si Miss Emma? Sino ang kakilala ni Miss Emma Fagsao? Bayo ba to? Anyone? Somebody's entering? Hindi ko rin siya kilala. Anyway. Pero bio, sir? Kung bio, okay lang naman. Pwede natin na siyang i-accept. Baka maano siya. Sige, sige. Okay, sige. I'll admit. Alright. I was IHK. So basically, that is, what is the answer? Of course, they have limited amount of genetic material. Sir, wait lang. Do mitochondria and chloroplasts have genetic material? Kasi sabi natin kanina, remember that they are once prokaryotes that are engulfed in the eukaryote. So basically, they have limited material. We call it the mitochondrial DNA and the chloroplast DNA. Question, anong theory ang nagsasabi nun na dati silang prokaryote na kinain ng eukaryote? Sige nga, kung natatandaan nyo. Anong theory na ulit yon? Okay, what theory is responsible for that? That there is a notion, there is this former prokaryotes are engulfed with the eukaryotes, like the mitochondria and chloroplast. Letter E. Endo, kasi nga, pumasok, di ba? And then nag-join sila, nakitira sila. Endo-symbiotic theory. Remember the endo-symbiotic theory by Lean Margulis, di ba? Lean Margulis. Ayan, so tatandaan just in case, no? So that's letter E. Alright, yeah. Andito pala. Wrong spelling ako, single L. So endosymbiotic theory proposed by Lean Margulis in 1970 explained the origin of the eukaryotic cell. So major evolutionary event occurred by merging two or more lineages through symbiosis, two organisms living together. So basically, they have engulfed these prokaryotes. Okay? So these are some of the organelles of the cell, no? Oh, sige nga. Review ulit tayo dito. Sige. Saan ulit dito ang site for cellular respiration? Site for cellular respiration. Okay, that's correct. Mitochondria. Okay, how about the where we can find the primary DNA? Where we can find the primary DNA? Okay, the clues. Where proteins are produced. Where proteins are produced. Where proteins are produced. That's correct. That's ribo. These works with ribosomes. These organelle works closely with ribosomes. These organelle works closely with ribosomes. Saan yun? Anong ER? Anong klase? But because, di ba, meron siya talagang, they're working closely together. That is rough endoplasmic reticulum. So again, that's rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, yun lang naman so far. Next, what kind of relation is exhibited by algae and fungi in lichen? A, symbiosis. B, parasitism. C, commensalism. D, competition. Symbiosis, parasitism, commensalism, or competition. That's correct. Symbiosis. Tatandaan na algae and fungi in lichen, that is symbiosis. No? So we have what we call lichen symbiosis. Kapag siya fungi, no, we call it mycobiont or fungal partner. Okay. Algae, we call it algae and cyanobacteria, we call it the photobionts, one of both algal partner. So what's the difference between the two? So pag photobiont, the photosynthetic component of a lichen, which may be either green alga or algae or a cyanobacterium. Okay, photobiont. Mycobiont, fungi component naman. So pag fungi and in lichen, for example, no, so that is the fungal component of a lichen, that is mycobiont. So either a green algae or cyanobacteria, or either a filamentous fungus. So it's responsible for providing food for the fungus by undergoing photosynthesis, while this one is shelter and absorption of water and nutrients for the photobiont. Okay, so that is more of symbiotic relationship. Okay, so what process is responsible for the upward movement of water in very tall trees? Air pressure, transpiration, capillary action, trigger pressure. Yan. So very tall trees, no, especially through the narrow tubes. You can direct message or you can send your responses to everyone. Yeah, I can see a lot of C. So ang daming C. That's correct. Capillary action. How do you call naman the evaporation plants? A, B, C, or D? Evaporation and plants. That is B. Transpiration. Transpiration. Okay. This is the process responsible for the folding or unfolding of makahiya limbs. A, B, C, or D. Unfolding of makahiya limbs. Not really thigmotropism. Di ba ang thigmotropism, yung vine siya, di ba? Yung kumakalat-lat. Pero kapag tinatch mo yung tawag dito, makahiya, it's actually turgor pressure. Letter D is the answer, turgor pressure. Okay, next. Yeah, these are some of the transport in plants. Now we have capillary action. We have two there, two forces. Cohesion forces between water and water. Pag cohesion, the same molecules, the same substances. Water to water, cohesion. Water and other molecules, adhesion. Okay? Cohesion, the same. Adhesion, different. Natandaan. The transpiration pool, water moves from areas where there is plenty of water to areas where there is little water. And so the excess water will actually be evaporated to the atmosphere through the process of transpiration. Pressure flow hypothesis explains how flow and transport happens. Sugars move from areas of high concentration to areas of low concentration. Sige nga, pakilagay nga sa chat box. How do you call the tube that transports water and minerals? Tubes that transports water and minerals. Xylem or phloem? Siyempre, xylem. Xylem. Tatandaan, xylem, water and minerals. Okay? Pag phloem, sugars. Kaya ito, pressure flow hypothesis from areas of high concentration to low concentration yung mga sugars and other photosynthetic products, that is phloem. Phloem. Alright? Photosynthesis, phloem, PP. That's correct because the product of photosynthesis is glucose. So we call it translocation. Okay, ito, more of the concentration. But of course, the transport of this sugar to the different parts of the plants is called translocation. So again, phloem is a translocation, xylem is to blank. Okay, ano na nga yun? Sa xylem, if phloem is for translocation. Okay, that is, okay, water upward, yes, of course, that is part of your transpiration. All right. Yeah. Yes, that's correct. So next, what substance do leeches secrete which gives the blood they on stay? A, ecdysone. B, fibrinogen. C, hemoglobin. D, anticoagulant. Okay. Okay. I can see D. Second. D. All right. D, that's correct. anticoagulant. So ito yung substance na sinisecrete ng mga leeches, no? So ibig sabihin, this anticoagulant actually stops something from bleeding. Yan, anticoagulant. Question, how do we classify leeches again? What phylum do they belong? They belong to phylum? Yes, that's correct. Phylum, Platyhelminthes ba ang mga leeches? Nematoda, no? Na iba-iba na kayo. Platyhelminthes, nematoda. Yung totoo. Sige, may iba ba bang sasagot? Huwag kakalimutan na. Okay lang yan. Annelida. Tatandaan. Annelida. Segmented. Earthworm is another example. Okay lang yan. Sige. What are the anticoagulant substance that prevents blood from clotting, no? By suppressing the synthesis or function of various clotting factors. Question. What vitamin is also known as anti-hemorrhage vitamin kasi nagka-clot siya? Galing talaga ni Dr. Puga. Okay, vitamin K, that's correct. Anti-hemorrhage vitamin, vitamin K. Phyloquinone, okay? The anticoagulants are given to prevent thrombosis and used in drawing and storing blood. There are two types of anticoagulants, heparin and vitamin K. Dito siya. Okay? So the latter have longer lasting effects, interfering in the liver's metabolism of vitamin K to cause production of defective clotting factor. So pag tinabing clotting, sa Filipino, we call it pag-ampat. So inaampat yung dugo para hindi tuloy-tuloy na magdugo. Okay? Ecdison is a steroid hormone that controls molting in insects and other arthropods. Pag nakita molting, ano na ulit yung molting pag? Papalit ng ano? Papalit ng? Okay, balahibo. Okay. Or basically, pag sa insects and other arthropods, yung kanilang exoskeleton. Okay, so basically. So I think I have a picture of that. Yeah. So this one is called the molting, no? Pag tinanong sa board exam, other term for molting or biological term for molting or biological term is we call it ecdysis. Okay? Pag nakita yon, ecdysis molting. Okay? Next. Fibrinogen naman is a glycoprotein that circulates in the blood of vertebrates, no? Functions primarily to occlude blood vessels and thereby stop excessive bleeding. So it's a glycoprotein. Okay. Now, one who specializes in all kinds of fishes and their characteristics, developing expertise in blank. Theology, taxonomy, histology, entomology. All right, you can see A. Yeah, that's correct. No, study of fishes is ichthyology. Now, one of the commonly misspelled term in biology, ichthyology. How about the science of classification? Science of classification. A, B, C, or D? That's correct. Letter B. Taxonomy. Who is the father of ancient taxonomy? Who is the father of ancient taxonomy? Okay, that is Aristotle. Ancient taxonomy, Aristotle. How about modern taxonomy? Modern taxonomy, that is Linnaeus. Modern taxonomy. How do you call the study of tissue? Carolus Linnaeus or Carvon Linnaeus. Histology, study of tissues. Study of insects naman. How do you call the study of insects? Entomology. Correct. Entomology. Alright? That's correct. Okay, question. Ano naman ang tawag sa mga animals na kumakain ng insects? How do you call the consumer that feed on insects? Okay. Okay, what type of carnivore are there? Are they? We call them, correct, that is insectivores. Correct. Ano naman yung cannibal? Ano ba yung cannibal? Cannibal are actually species who actually eats its own species. Nagkakaroon ng cannibalism lalo na kapag there is a very scarce resource. Ayun. Ang cannibalism, by the way, meron na nasa isip ko. Akala ka entomologist, sir. Entomologist is the one who studies entomology. Ano ba yung tinanong ko? Yung kumakain ng insect. Okay. Actually, entomologist is the one who studies entomology. Alright. sa cannibalism, usually din, pwede rin tong mangyari sa mga ano, di ba? Remember yung ano, postpartum, di ba? May mga postpartum trauma, especially mga aso, no, kapag kababagang anak, and then nagkaroon ng post-traumatic, ano, postpartum trauma, they can actually eat their puppies, no? I think that could also be, since that's same species, no? Yeah, cannibalism. But sa tao, there are reports, no, in other, ano, yeah, in other continents where really poverty and food scarcity is very high. So they would resort to cannibalism. Okay? May sakit sa pag-iisip, meron yun eh. Yeah, may mga ganun din. Okay? Cannibal, yeah. May iniisip ako na itanong eh. Pero sige, you have histology, entomology, okay. Sige. So there are two main groups, di ba, of fishes. So you have your chondrectites and the ostectites. So cartilaginous, chondrectites, CC, cartilaginous, chondrectites. Then bone ostectites, osteo, bony. So tatandaan na mga terms natin. So they name because they have a flexible skeleton made entirely of cartilage, and cartilaginous fishes include the sharks and rays. So it's sharks and rays, cartilaginous, chondrectites. While all other fishes formerly called ostectites, no, now divided into three classes because their skeleton contain bone hardened by calcium compound. So chondrectites and ostectites. Yeah, matariban. All right. Yeah. Okay. What is the distinguishing characteristics of Homo sapiens over the lower animals? A large brain, B, blood vessels, C, endoskeleton, D, sensitive skin. Okay, what's the answer? All right, so that is letter A, correct. So large brain. So Homo sapiens, sapiens, no? So something to do with knowledge, intelligence, no? So large brain. Okay? So yan, no? So iba-iba to, nakita niyo na rin to before siguro. So we have here the modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, no, in general. So we also have Neanderthalensis, Heidelbergensis, Homo ergaster, Homo erectus, and some Australopithecus genus, then Homo genus, Australopithecus, and the Ardipithecus genus, and Ramidus species. Okay. So next, which hormone promotes the development of secondary female sexual characteristics such as broad pelvis and enlarged breasts? A, relaxin, B, secretion, C, testosterone, D, estrogen. Secondary female sex characteristics, syempre napakadali. Wala namang iba dyan. Okay, kundi letter D, estrogen. So estrogen is responsible for broadening of pelvis, no, balakang, lumalapad, and then enlarging of the breast. No? Ayan. So, ayan. So, function on most reproductive associate organ of mother. So, like enlargement of mother's uterus, para bigyan ng lugar yung baby sa paglaki nito, no? Because you know very well that it's in the uterus where the developing baby is actually there, no? And then for enlargement of mother's breast, female external genitalia. Again, ano mga ba yung external genital ng female? Yeah, pakisulat nyo. What's the female genitalia? How do you call it? That is the female genitalia is the letter V, vagina. Okay, vagina, female genitalia, male genitalia, that is letter P, penis. Okay, pero pag tinanong sa board exam, male sex organ, testis, male sex organ, testis. Sige, female sex organ, ano nga? Female sex organ, that is ovary. Do not be confused. All right, and then relaxes pelvic ligaments of mother. Okay, while on the other hand, progesterone naman are chemical messengers produced in the ovaries, placenta when pregnant, and adrenal, essential in promoting conception and supporting pregnancy. So pag conception, supporting pregnancy, progesterone. Progesterone, pregnancy. Conception, part pa rin ng pregnancy. Paglilihi, di ba? How does progesterone work? It's produced by the ovaries, adrenals, and placenta. Progesterone stimulates the endometrium to receive a nourished and implanted fertilized egg. If implantation does not occur, progesterone levels drop, the endometrium breaks down, and menstruation occurs. Okay? So how do you call again the first menstruation of females? Call it the Yes, that's correct. The menarche. So that is your first menstruation. How do you call the first? Sinabi ko na ba yun before? How do you call naman the first breast milk? Yung unang labas na gatas ng ina. Letter C. Ano na nga? That is correct. Yes, that's correct. Yes, colostrum. So, tatandaan. Okay. How about for male? Ano naman tawag dun sa unang tawag dito? Seminal release. We call it menarche, yung unang menstruation. For the male, we have call it spermachy, diba? So that is for males. All right. So if pregnancy occurs, progesterone is produced in the placenta throughout pregnancy. Okay? So yan. All right. So ayan no. So estrogen effects, no. So lining, body fat, blood clotting. Ito mostly on tawag dito endometrial. Okay. Normalized blood clotting. Clotting helps use fat for energy. So estrogen, progesterone are the two female sex hormones. Okay. So next two organism can be identified as belonging to the same species if they can A, breed in natural setting, B, eat the same kind of food, C, survive together in nature, D, tolerate one another in nature. This is very easy also. That is letter. Yes, that is letter A. That's correct. So a lot of you answered it right. So breed in natural setting. Okay, two organisms of the same species. Okay, so biological species, constant species defined as population individuals that can produce viable offspring. Okay, meaning fertile offspring. Probably the most well-known definition of species, hybridization. So hybrid naman is of course meron tayong two different pwedeng magkaroon pa rin tayong two different species possible pa rin yun, pero hindi nga lang fertile or viable yung kanilang magiging offspring. Tulad ng liger, lion and tiger, ano pa, zebrunky, zebra and donkey, yung mga yan. Okay? So morphological species concept classified as the same species if organism fit on the same morphological criteria. Classical definition going back to the days of Carl Linnaeus, the father of taxonomy. Question. Pakilagay nga sa chat box who is considered to be the father of genetics. Ayan, tignan nga natin kung matatandaan nyo. Okay, that is Mendel. How about father of microscopy? Father of microscopy. Si Van. Si Van na walang umalay. Okay, si Anton Van Leeuwenhoek. That's correct. Or Leeuwenhoek if you want. Okay, mahirap si Leeuwenhoek. Alright, anong tinawag ni Leeuwenhoek sa mga nakita niya ulit sa microscope? He called it animalcules, which are now known as blank. Ngayon, hindi na siya animalcules. These are actually, what are these animalcules? Protozoa, which of course a type of protein. That is correct. Okay, question. Sinabi natin kanina father of genetics, tama ba? So, father of genetics si Mendel. Sino naman ang consider natin father of, inaalala ko yung pangalan, pero sige. Considered as father of botany. Ayun, sige. Botany. Kasi meron na tayong, di ba? Invertebrate zoology si Aristotle. Okay, that's correct. May nakasagot. Sige, iano ko lang yung spelling. So, siya si Theo Prastus. Okay lang, sir. That's Theo Prastus. That's correct. So, saan naman sa botany? Sige. Tatandaan yan. Meron pa, sa final coaching, may sasabihin pa ako ang dalawang tao. Sige. Na lumalabas din sa board. Alright, inialala ko lang. Okay, sige. Okay, ngayon, nakita nyo, di ba, species pinag-uusapan natin. Species, and then nagkakaroon tayo din ng evolutionary relationship sa mga species na to. Pag natanong sa board exam, okay, nakita nyo to ng mga crocodiles, lizards and snakes, mga dinosaurs. Pag tinanong sa board exam, alin daw ang pinaka-closest o pinaka-malapit na kamag-anak ng mga crocodiles? Anong isasagot niya sa board exam? Pag yan tinanong ulit, okay, sasagot ay Okay, that's correct. Isasagot ay birds. Okay, ayan sila. So tatanong, pag tinanong sa board exam, alin o anong hayop ang kamag-anak ng pinaka-closest ng kamag-anak ng crocodile sa bird? Grabe, di ba? So mga bird, this is actually based on the recent research. Pasok naman sa chicken si bird, sabi ni Iso, naman. Okay, so yes. So, class ano? Class ano? Class Aves. That's correct. Class Aves. Ano naman class ng crocodiles? Ano naman ang class ng mga crocodiles? That is reptilia. That is correct. Okay, that's correct. Okay, next. When you fail to eat the usual kind and among wait lang, nabutakpan, and amount of food you take every day, what could serve, as the fuel source of the cells in your body? A glycogen deliverer, B, albumin in the blood, C, cholesterol in blood vessels, D, fats in adipose tissue. Yeah? Yeah, keep your answers, Kami. Sige. That is correct. Letter A. May D, may A. Sige, okay lang yan. So, glycogen in the liver. It's actually glycogen in the liver. So, tatandaan na, this is actually the serve as our fuel source of the cells in our body. So, glycogen, what's the function? No? Muscle glycogen to serve as a fuel reserve to the synthesis of ATP during muscle contraction. Okay? So that of liver glycogen is to maintain the blood glucose concentration, particularly during the early stages of the fast. Kunyari, medyo nagpa-fasting kayo, syempre gugutumin kayo ng konti, and then eventually parang after a while, wala na yung gutom nyo, no? Because of the glycogen. It's our reserve, fuel reserve. Okay? Ayan. So it is a branch chain homopolysaccharide made exclusively from alpha D glucose. Okay, so that is part of our carbohydrate. Okay, which is the energy storage compound used to do all forms of work of the cell. Adenine, electron, adenosine triphosphate, or nicotinamide. Okay, the answer. Okay, that is correct, no? So that is adenosine triphosphate or ATP. Ayan. Yes, kailangan meron ding pang-chem ito, 'di ba? Meron tayong pang-biochem kasi 'di ba part din yan ng majorship niyo. Kaya expect na may mga chem part yan. Sa final coaching, may chem part ba doon? Meron naman mga biochem. Okay, biochem part. Pero usually, pag full chemistry na hindi na masyado, so physical science majorship. Pero sa inyo sa biochem lang kayo. So wala kayong makikita sa majorship niya na computation ng proton electron. Pwede 'yun sa sa Gen Ed. Okay, Gen Ed. Don't worry, sige. Sa biostat sa final coaching meron. Mean, median, mode. So lumalabas 'yan. Part 'yan ng biostat. Usually yun lang naman sa biostatistics. Okay? Sa biochem, sakto lang. Meron bang gusto mag-say? Lang ha, parang ako ba yun? Ay, sorry. Ayan. Alright, so yun lang naman. Sige, tignan ko yung chat box. Sige, may mga private messages. Yan, sige. Mag-ano rin tayo ng... Sa anatomy, sige, meron pang ibang part din. Meron pa ako mga ibang question from anatomy na i-ration natin. Laging tinitignan yung mga ano ko lang dito, mga ilalagay kong mga additional questions. Ano pa? Okay, sige. Alright, sige, let's move on. So that's HP, though. We call it as the molecular unit of currency or the energy currency of the cells. Pag nakita sa board exam, energy currency or molecular unit of currency. So found in all forms of life, the complex organic chemical that participates in many processes and part of the intracellular energy transfer. Okay? So next, which type of organism is not shown in the food chain? Grass, mouse, snakes, hawk. A, herbivore. B, producer. C, carnivore. D, decomposer. Alright, that's correct. Decomposer. Nakakita na ba kayo ng food chain na may nakalagay decomposer? Wala, di ba? Hindi nilalagay, no, sa food chain. Bakit kaya hindi nilalagay? Because decomposition can occur in between. Pwedeng agad mamatay si grasshopper, ma-decompose siya, mamatay si rat, ma-decompose, si snake, ma-decompose, and then si eagle, tama ba ako? Ma-decompose. So basically, ganon. So you cannot really see decomposer. So pag nakita sa board exam, decomposer is absent in the food chain. All right? So question, based on this food chain, answer the following question. My first question is, what animal in this particular food chain is considered as herbivore? What animal is considered as herbivore? Based on the food chain, ha? Of course, the one that eats the producer. Ano yon? Grasshopper. All right? So grasshopper. So rat here can actually be considered na as carnivore since the food is grasshopper. Question. If the producer or the grass has 2,000 kilocalories, how much energy will the eagle receive? Again, the grass has 2,000 kilocalories. How much energy does the eagle receive? Okay, bakit may 10? 2,000 kilocalories sinabi ko. Alright, so 2,000, okay, ano to? 222.2. So the correct answer is 0.2, diba? 0.2 or 0.2. So, if-follow nyo yung ano, pwede kasi magbago to. Sasabihin niya 50,000, 70,000, pwedeng ganon. 700, 500. So, ganon. Okay, at least everybody halos got it correct. Okay. Okay? Sige, next. What animal here is considered to be the quaternary consumer? What animal here is considered to be the quaternary consumer? Hindi natin din alam kung ano ba yan talaga. So, may hawk, may eagle, may kalapati. Ano ba yan? So, this is basta yung bird. No, this is actually the eagle. That's correct. Okay, let's move on. How do you call again the interconnecting food chain? How do you call again the interconnecting? Ayan. Sige, may mga idadagdag pa ako sa next. I was actually browsing my material. Okay, that's correct. Okay, next. Meron pa tayong mga few questions. Sakto tayo sa 11. What is the natural phenomenon on naka-black on wherein there is a continuous movement of water from the source to the atmosphere and back? A carbon cycle, B mineral cycle, C hydrologic cycle, D hydrogen cycle. That is correct. Siyempre, no, dali yan. Hydrologic cycle. So this is how it looks like, the hydrologic cycle. Okay, so we have your condensation, precipitation, transpiration, evaporation, transpiration, kasama yan. And then infiltration and runoff. Question. How do you call the process of phase transition from gas to liquid? Phase transition from gas to liquid. Yan. Natatandaan nyo ba? Gas to liquid. Example, water vapor to liquid water. Okay? Ang sagot ay condensation. That's correct. Ha? Tatandaan, gas to liquid, physical science man to, pero siyempre, part yun ng hydrologic cycle. Gas to liquid, that is condensation. Paano naman pag gas to solid? Gas to solid. Is it sublimation? Gas to solid, that is deposition. Tatandaan nyo to, ganito yan. Sa clouds, may water vapor. And you know water vapor is a gas. Pag yung gas na yan, yung water vapor na yan, naging liquid water, okay, that is the process of condensation. Okay? So pwede siyang maulan, no? Ma-deliver, no? On Earth, back to the Earth. Ngayon, pag gas to solid, water vapor ulit. Pero hindi liquid water ang ilalagay niya, kundi snow, hail, steel yan, deposit. So, i-deposit na ngayon yung solid na yun. So, gas to solid, we call it deposition. Question, what is sublimation? Kabaliktaran. Solid to gas. So, solid to gas is sublimation. Okay? Okay. Solid to gas is sublimation. Question, ano ang karaniwang nagsusublime? Can you put it in the chat box? What are the common materials that sublime? Yeah. Which is karaniwang tinatanong sa Gen Ed Science. Okay? That's correct. The naphthalene ball. Other term for naphthalene ball. Sige nga. Yung mas maikling term. Umulan na. Umulan ulit. Okay, that's correct. Your mothball. Eh, ayaw ng PRC ng mothball and naphthalene ball. Ano pang pwedeng example? Letter D, DI. Ano yun? Albatross is also yes. Ano pa? DI, the dry ice. Correct? Ano yung dry ice? What is the chemical name for dry ice? Sige nga, can you put in the chat box? Solid. Solid ano ang dry ice? Solid carbon dioxide. Remember, pag solid carbon dioxide, hindi yan magme-melt. Okay, mawawala lang yan, magsusublime lang yan into gas, into gaseous form of carbon dioxide. So that is another example na pwede nyo makita in Gen Ed Science. By the way, I'm not sure kung magkakandak ako ng live review for Gen Ed Physical Science kasi na-upload ko pa lang, or yung tapos pa lang natin sa review natin at na-upload ko rin naman is yung sa Gen Ed Biological Science. But if time will not permit, I will be recording another session for Gen Ed Physical Science kasi bio lang yung ano natin, yung Gen Ed natin na nakaraan. Yun lang, no? So part yan kasi ng Physical Science. So next, which statement best describes the climax stage of an ecological succession? A, persists until there are drastic changes. B, represents initial stages of evolution. C, will change from season to season. D, populated only by plants. Climax stage. No? Nasa climax community ka na. Okay, very good. No? I can see A. I can see another A. Another A. That's correct. It persists until there are drastic changes. Hanggang walang disturbance, hanggang walang sunog, hanggang walang ecological disturbance, mga typhoon or kung ano pa man, na mga dilubyo, patuloy na magfo-flourish ang climax community. Okay? Pag nagkaroon ng dilubyo, magkakaroon na tayo ng secondary succession. Umuulan na. Sige, okay lang. Patapos na rin naman tayo. So this is for the climax community, no, from the very bare land to the climax community. Okay? Next, which of the following is true of a virus? A, it is tiny infectious particle. B, it is tiny infectious cell. C, it is tiny infectious nucleic acid. D, it is tiny infectious living thing. Let me just, close the window. Alright, so sobrang lakas ng ulan. What's the answer? Virus hindi ata makonsider na living organism. Ayan. So anong sagot? Okay. Okay, it is a tiny infectious particle. So that is letter A. Okay. Ayan. Sige, tingnan natin. Sige, ganito yan, no? Letter A, infectious particle, no? Particle siya. Basically, wala siyang biological organization. So basically, it cannot be considered as an infectious cell. Paano siya nagre-replicate? Because of the presence of the host. For it to thrive or for it to basically replicate. So infectious nucleic acid, not really nucleic acid. So basically it's just a part. Okay? Not really living things because it is not actually tawag doon, classified in any domain or any kingdom. Okay? Pero sinasabi ng mga researchers, it's neither living or non-living. Nasa gitna siya. Okay? May DNA ba ang virus? Yes. Ka-RNA yan. Pag nasa loob daw siya ng host or living, yes. Kaya siya neither, kaya siya nasa gitna. Neither, neither living or non-living. Kaya nasa gitna. That's based on research. But generally, we call it an infectious particle. Ha? Sasagot niya yan, letter A. Okay? So next. So, sino si Martinez Beijerinck? No? So in 1898, he did a repeated demonstration that tobacco mosaic virus was not retained by filters that retained all bacteria known at the time. So he believed the results, did extensive dilution experiment, and showed diffusion of infectious agent through agar, named Contagium vivum fluidum, na ngayon ay alam na natin virus. So ang very old name ng virus noon is Contagium vivum fluidum. Okay? So, anong ginamit? Yung tobacco. Okay? So, tinry nilang i-demonstrate yung tobacco mosaic virus ni Martinez Beijerinck. Kaya, si Beijerinck ang nag-term ng Latin name na pangalang virus, meaning poison for the substance infecting tobacco. Pag tinanong sa board exam, okay. Pag tinanong sa board exam, Beijerinck, who coined the name virus? Martinez Beijerinck. Pag tinanong sa board exam, anong ibig sabihin ng virus? Or virus literally means blank. Ang anong sasagot? Sige nga. Virus literally means blank. Sasagot? The answer would be poison. Ha? Ang sasagot? Poison. Poison. Sige. Wendell Stanley crystallized sap from tobacco leaves infected with TMV and found virus made of nucleic acid and protein. Kaya nga, meron siyang DNA, RNA. Okay? So next, in 1886, Adolf Meyer first described the tobacco that could be transferred between plants similar to bacterial infection, while Ivanovsky gave the first concrete evidence for the existence of a non-bacterial infectious agent showing that infectives remain infection even after filtering through finest chamberland filters. Okay, so that is Ivanovsky. Okay, so the hair-like structure found in many cells that aid in the movement is the blank. A, lysosome. B, cilia. C, mitochondria. D, nucleus. That is correct. Gen Ed, lumalabas din to. That is cilia. That's correct. Okay? Ayan. So, flagella, no? Meron ding cilia. So, usually ito mga sa sa mga proteins ninyo. Okay? So, we have the flagella and cilia. Okay? And bacteria sometimes. We have here cilia are slender protuberances that project from the much larger cell body, while flagella is a lash-like appendage that protrudes from the cell body. Both are actually used for locomotion or, okay? So yeah, we have paramission. There are cilias in paramission for movement. We have pseudopods, pseudopodia or pseudopods in amoeba, and the flagellum or flagella in euglena. Okay. So question: how do you call the vacuole of plant cell? How do you call the vacuole of plant cell? Okay. Pag tinanong sa board exam, we call it like natin. Wala pa? We call it storage vacuole or food vacuole for plant cell. Ano naman kapag sa proteins? Ano tawag sa vacuole nila? That's with letter C. That is contractile vacuole. Okay, so kapag sa proteins, we call it contractile vacuole. Okay, baka itanong ulit yan. Alright, so next. Canis familiaris is the scientific name of the Canis is, of course, the class, phylum, genus, or species. The answer, Okay, that's correct. Of course, that is the genus. Canis familiaris genus. Okay, not a species because familiaris is the species. Okay, so again, familiaris is the species, canis is the genus. So genus and species is actually the two parts of what we call binomial nomenclature or the two-name system. No, two-name system of naming. Okay, so rabies, what is that? So it's a viral infection that affects the nervous system of mammals, including dogs. It causes encephalitis and myelitis, and in just about every case causes death. Any signalment of animal can be susceptible to contracting rabies after being exposed to it. Canine rabies is prevalent in Latin America, Asia, and Africa. Kaya nga may mga ano tayo dyan. May mga vaccine tayo for dogs. So usually, meron ba? Ang mga rodents ba may rabies? Yan, pakilagay nyo nga sa chat box. Okay. Actually, wala, di ba? Kasi ano ba sila? Usually, ano ba? Anong class nila ulit? Saan sila nakabilong? Anong class ng mga to? Yes, wala. Okay. So basically, sa ano to, no? Sa family Rodentia, rodent, di ba? So these are rodents. So part of the phylum Chordata pa rin, but as a Rodentia sila. So basically, gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, sa rabies, usually, this is affects no mostly the system of mammal. Okay? So next, what is leptospirosis? So it's also known as canicola fever, hemorrhagic jaundice, infectious jaundice, or mud fever. Ang daming tawag, no? It's a bacterial infection resulting from exposure to Leptospira interrogans bacterium. So pag nakita na tanong sa board exam, leptospirosis bacteria. Leptospira interrogans. Okay? So that is leptospirosis. Okay, kanino to? Basta jaundice. Yeah. Infectious jaundice. Sino nagdadala nito? That's correct. Of course, yung inyong mga rodents or rats, daga. Ano pinagkaiba ng ano? Meron ba yun? Wala. Ano lang yun? Sige, daga. Okay. Which theory states that life originated from non-living materials? A cosmozoic, B naturalistic, C special reaction. What's the answer? Correct. That is spontaneous generation, letter D. That's correct. So, pinaniniwalaan kasi na parang from the non-living, magkakaroon ng living. For example, mayroon ka maruruming damit. Tapos eventually, isang araw may nakita kang lumabas na daga out of that. So, naniwala na yung mga tao before na yung mga maruruming damit ay nanganganak ng mga daga. Another example, merong iniwang karne ng baboy. And then after several days, merong mga ano na doon, mga larva. Okay, naniniwala sila na yung baboy pa rin nanganak ng mga larva, which is of course not true and was disproved ngayon. Okay? Yes. Actually, si Certes. Si Certes ang nag-formulate, although unsearchable siya online. Pero pag nakita nyo sa board exam, Adrian Certes, ita-type ko siya. Adrian Certes. Siya ang nag-formulate ng, nag-coin ng term na spontaneous generation. Right? Kasi yung iba nag-disprove eh. Ang tanong usually, sino nag-originate? Sino nag-formulate? So wala tayong wala tayong ibang pipilian kundi si Adrian Certes. Sino si Francisco naman, Marjorie? Si Reday? Si ano naman first name ni Reday? Francis? Tama ba? Si ano naman, nakalimutan ko na si Reday. Hindi ko na siya close. Okay, Francisco yan. Francisco pala siya. Okay, ngayon ko lang din na-recall ulit. Okay, tito ko yan. Tito doon ni Hazel. Alright. Sige ha, basta yun ha. Pag Adrian Certes, sige. Yun. Okay? The rest kasi, yan sila Spallanzani, si Pasio, si Reday. So usually they, ano, di ba, they conducted experiments, no, for these, to disprove, no, spontaneous generation. Yung sa maggots that. Kasi gumawa pa yan ng experiment. So for much of history, people believed that animals could come from non-living sources. They thought frogs developed from falling drops of rain, mice arose from sweaty underwear, and flies arose from decaying meat. Yung maggots na yun. So this is called abiogenesis, no? That non-living things can actually bear a living thing, for example. So also known as spontaneous generation, which is not at the time. So yun na lang pala yun. Alright? So dahil malakas ng ulan dito, I'm not sure kung malakas na rin yung ulan nyo. So we will end our review, no, from here, unless you have question. Okay? So keep calm and top the board exam. Meron ba kayong tanong? Okay, if none, I'm going to end the